Welcome one and all right back to LPL English, your unofficial home for everything LPL. I'm Mazel. I'm joined by Alf Battery, and we have Kai on the production behind the scenes. Couldn't be more excited for a day that was supposed to be a little bit longer, but nonetheless, we're gonna have some fun today, aren't we, Alf?
Yeah, for sure. I'm right there with you. I'm sad that we got robbed of the series. I hope that everyone in Beijing is safe and healthy. If you did not catch on socials, due to heavy rains and potential flash flooding, JDG Weibo is going to be pushed back and postponed, most likely to the same day that we'll have that first BLG and IG game we were supposed to have. So, unfortunate again, but still, WE FPX, I promise you guys, please,
Cinema?
3 games.
Cinema? It's gonna be 3 games. They gotta give
light
us
movie
at
work.
least. Yeah, okay. They gotta give us at least a little bit of action to make up for that later on. But let's go ahead and take a look at the groups themselves, especially the way that things have been kind of panning out. I mean, finally, we see that Top Esports, they can bleed, and BLG stay undefeated. The honeymoon ceremony still going quite well for them.
And BLG, like you were just saying, I think if things keep playing out the way they do, this looks like a team that people can start to get excited about again, especially with Shadow doing really
Who
well
knew that
for
it was
Billy
Shadow?
Billy. Yeah, and all the way at the bottom of your standings, you'll see 7th and 8th. That is the match we'll be playing today. WE looking for their first series win of split number 3. Kind of a heartbreaker for, what was I considering kind of the last of the Vibes team, the last of like the bros.
Yeah, and I do believe WE are 0-5 in that sense, but hey, maybe looking forward a little bit towards what could possibly happen tonight. But I think the other fascinating thing, just a little bit more on this, is the Nirvana setup. I mean, EDG look unkillable in that setup, and they're really vying for that playoff play-in spot, and I think that's really interesting to kind of keep tabs on, especially with the change up between Group Ascend and Group Nirvana that we had here in Split 3. But let's talk about what we got going on today. We have a banger. I'm sure it's going to go 3 games. WE might end up finding their first win. And if they do, this roster would finally see a payoff after it feels like forever at this point. It's a double round robin, but the fact they've already fallen so many times, they have to find wins where they can get it, or just find that positioning in that playoff play-in. And so I think this WE team, there's some bright points, and I think we can look at mid for a lot of impact tonight, hopefully, and see if that's going to really matter, at least against this side of FPX.
One of the few rosters here in Group Ascend that made no changes going into Split 3, which we were like, okay, this looks good. They made 4th in Split 2, but it is more and more of the same Team WE that we got at the very beginning of the season, where some really tough games. Their early games haven't been particularly great, but I think that they've had strong objective control that has allowed them to stay in most of these games and be relevant. I have so many questions as to, when I look at this WE roster, what exactly are we kind of like pushing forward? These are FPX clips. I was like, okay, these are Jue. But what I was talking about with WE, it's so frustrating when I watch this team.
I think the problem is the fact that like that supportal matchup has a lot of impact, and we're going to be taking a look at both these supports tonight, and you can kind of see the counter aspect of it, of what Vampire tries to bring to the table. But it's really Jue. I feel like that has a lot of those impact moments, and he's going to have to be able to counter that a little bit on this setup between the two, because when we look at the way that these teams play, I mean, they need setup around objectives, and both of these supports bring so much of that to the team from places that I feel like we didn't expect, right? Like in Vampire, it's been a lot of growth between him individually across different teams, and for Jue trying to find his own footing in that way.
I love what we've gotten from Vampire. It's been a little bit softer here in Split 3, but I think the entirety of WE might be a little slow to wake up here so far. I think that Vampire very early on into Split 2 kind of put himself amongst greats in the support role right now, especially for that season alone. And then you're looking across from him, Jue, leading the MVP votes in the regular season for supports. I think it was impressive enough to have that from a guy that, honestly, we looked at the rest of the team on FPX and we weren't really too excited for what they had.
Yeah, and I do think that even though we haven't seen much of that roster changing, all those kinds of things going for both sides, it hasn't necessarily been that payoff that maybe both rosters were looking for, and especially for WE. I mean, when we talk about still trying to look for a win this far in Split 3, in the split that is for Worlds, that we have 4 spots available, right? WE maybe never contesting for that in some way. But when we look at the track record, it has been a struggle, Alk. Like, we have not been able to find wins consistently in splits.
It's funny, though, because a lot of those scores are very similar here in Split 3. They played against JDG, they went to 3 in that one. They played against Top Esports recently, 3 games there. BLG, they haven't been able to face up against, but a 3-game series versus anyone's legend feels like more of the same. And now that we're talking about WE and moving into the back end of the split, a lot of Split 2 we spent talking about, hey, development, you know, maybe you'll make a Split 3 push, you'll be able to have a dark horse race there. Now you have a lot fewer best of series, and we're getting into the back half of Split 3 now. We're on day, I think, 16 or 17 out of 40. Something's got to happen here. Otherwise, Team WE are looking at a play-ins bye.
Yeah, they are. And I think it can be a situation where there's a lot of negativity. You can try to figure out what works, but I think just giving yourself the best foot forward, giving yourself easy executable game plans in a best of 3, make sure you go for comfort a lot of the time. That is just what I want to see. Some of the interconnections have been really tough to watch, especially for this roster. But on the other side, maybe a little bit of fire in the Phoenix now. They brought back in somebody that, you know, knows the Phoenix well, in good and bad, in Milky Way. But we'll go ahead and take a look at this FPX roster, and then we'll be looking at clips of Dway, because I messed up the run of show when I built it. Appreciate Kai working through it. But we'll look at Dway, and then we'll compare the 2 supports again. But Milky Way as an addition, he's back, baby. What do we think, Alk?
I think this is still Milky Way of Royal Never Give Up, and maybe even some of that FPX we saw last year. You know, same Phoenix.
Platinum hair doesn't change it.
No, I was really excited because he was rocking his like regular non-dyed hair. I was like, okay, maybe that's just the RNG effect. And then he gets out, he immediately has the dyed hair. But talking more about the game, FPX have looked so inconsistent. I feel when we looked at this team with the changes that they made coming into this split, we were like, okay, we're really excited about that. They have Dway coming in, that we're getting, or that we have Jachi joining Dway. You even have potentially a new top laner or new jungler coming on through, but IYY starting here, he had absolutely zero competitive experience, at least on the Tier 1 stage, and he actually started looking better once they got a couple series in. So I just wonder why we're doing this Milky Way swap, because if we're being honest, Lennon, FPX are probably not making a very deep run in playoffs. So what exactly are we gaining here, except maybe a higher skill ceiling, which I don't even necessarily agree with.
And in a lot of these situations, you think about it, I mean, this is your last time these rosters are going out for split number 3, right? And you think going into next year, which is a long way away, things are probably going to change. So what does this do in the short term? And that's the question that I feel like we're still going to need answered. And we talked a little bit about the duality between the supports last time around when we were looking at the vampire clips. But now for Dway, I feel like he's taken such a heavy hand in how this team plays, the way that he approaches the map itself and like the shot calling aspect. I mean, it has been really incredible, his impact on a team that has been struggling.
And it's no longer on Nico. I think a huge caveat that was on his resume coming into Split 2 was like, okay, you had a lot of MVPs. Almost all of them were on Nico. So what exactly else can we get from you? And I think his Alistar has been absolutely superb so far this season. All of the engaged supports feel like he has the right timings. The one issue that we have kind of seen time and time again here for FPX is when he's out on the map, the rest of his team isn't necessarily there to follow up, so a lot of objectives will actually see Dway start off a fight with half of his health gone already. Yeah,
and I actually put that play as one of my favorites of the split in our collection of clips of the split that we've been putting in.
The Alistar engage with Senna, that was good.
Yeah, it didn't do much, but it looks really cool. And so as we take a look a little bit more of what really matters between these two rosters and what can look like success for them, or at least what can be successful for them. That support matchup is important. But this mid lane matchup, I feel like, has been a little bit of an undersung current for these teams, and trying to find the impact that they can have, get them comfort, get them impactful champions is extremely important between Karis and Care.
Ooh, these two guys, man. The way we set this up coming in is the import versus the franchise player. Karis, the very beginning of the year, I think a questionable move, but so far has shown a little bit of improvement versus Care, who, as someone who has been on FPX for so long, not only in Tier 1, but also playing in the Development League, playing on FPX Blaze, I needed to see Care really step up in this year, because he was the only remaining member from so long ago taking over for Doinby. So I don't know if we've necessarily seen that from Care, but this is the matchup where you need to show it. Karis and you are kind of sharing the similar spot in the league right now.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is like try to differentiate yourself between obviously some of the bottom of the table standings teams, especially in mid lane. That mid lane has been so legendary, so important for the LPL as a whole, and try to make your mark in that position can always be extremely difficult.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think one way you could do that is by, commanding comms, being able to have some of that voice on the team itself. And I know we had Kai put together a little bit of a voice comm video from FPX, so let's go ahead and take a look at that and hear what they had to say in some of their matchups.
啊，我够后面了，我够后面。能走吗？我可以去加力，我可以去加力。去吧去吧，我来来来，你们拖吧，我还手，来来来，我们先跟着，你们去，我拖走。来，你们快去！你这会逼，我拖着，赶紧动，我能动。来，范围大，没事，我断了，可以，可以打了，没攻。A 塔，来打！
You always love those cheerful Naisus, but being able to have those kind of comms and stuff like that is super important. And I think it's going to be extremely important tonight, where consistency will matter so much. I think both these teams. I know we had casters talking about the mudslinging and things along those lines. Graves and Quacks having a good time with that one, but it might be a little bit of the same. But I'm all for it, because that's what the LPL is built on, baby. And I think that's what we're gonna get
FPX pulled
tonight.
off a huge upset going up against IG. The fact that both of these teams are not equal in the standings is surprising, especially with the expectation that Group Ascend was only going to get harder in Split 3.
Yeah, and that's the craziest part, is when you look at that, and I've talked about it like every time I've been on here recently, but you think about the difference that taking two teams out of that running and putting them in Group Nirvana does, and it means, like we've said so many times, you have to be on your A game on a majority of your games. I mean, teams at the upper echelon are looking at FPX and WE say, you're the free pickings now. There's no longer those other teams in here. You have to be able to stand up.
Yep.
And I mean, in those kinds of cases, just trying to vie for the highest seeding you can possibly get in that race for the playoff play-in.
And that means every single win has to matter, because that could be life or death, whether or not you're playing potentially against EDG or NIP earlier on into that play-ins. I think that, especially with how close these two teams are in the standings, wins and losses up against each other are super important. And again, upsets like we saw from FPX versus IG turn it into a complete rat race at that moment.
Yeah. And the drop-off, or I guess the change between facing EDG and NIP in the end, right? That does matter a lot in these kinds of situations, or whoever the third and fourth seeds are going to be there in Group Nirvana too. But we get off onto our stage, and I do believe we're going to be in Xi'an tonight, which is going to be WE's home arena here. And being able to see a team that feels like it was built forever ago, even though it really hasn't been that long since the team has come together, and trying to figure out what the total picture looks like. What does WE want to come away from 2025 with, and how do they want to look, right? And especially looking forward in 2026.
I think that they've already done that. The fact that they moved away from Sorrow after, I think, one series, they picked up Monkey. They've built already a core for themselves that can very easily last them the next few years if they really kind of develop these pieces. If not, I'm sure some teams might be hunting for some junglers going into the offseason. So you give Monkey a good set of hands in some of his lanes. I feel like this team this player could really start to skyrocket in terms of his stocks.
And how banger for like the I mean, okay, maybe Milky Way stocks have fallen off a little bit, but
a little.
Maybe a year ago, how hype would this jungle matchup have been, right? Like how crazy the developmental aspect of both these two junglers would be. It still is to some extent, maybe a little jaded from some of the moments we've seen from Milky Way, but trying to make his way back into things here and against Monkey, who both of them being kind of developmental prospects. I mean, Milky Way kind of just stole the show when he was last on FPX, when they were actually having that crazy run, but then faltering in the playoffs themselves. Never looked the same since.
And they blew up the roster again, right? Like, we came into Split 3, we were hoping, okay, another season with Shadow. Shadow leaves the organization and then gets picked up by BLG during this time. So FPX and Summer, man, I don't know what it is, but these guys just really love making a bunch of roster changes that we don't necessarily agree with. So we'll see. Going into this draft, though, Lennon, got to start doing some housekeeping here. We are on 25-15, so Yunara potentially enabled here. We have seen her start to get picked up. I think she was 0-7, if I remember listening earlier. She's not been doing too great. We have seen some people start to pick this up. I don't know how you've been feeling about this. We're both 80 carry players.
Yeah, I like her. I think she's very fun. I feel she's like an alternate reality Zeri to me. And with having some of that contesting, what I really love is when the enemy takes kind of those aggressive 2v2 matchups into it, is in competitive at least, because then you can actually see if the mechanics are there on the Yunara player, because it can be kind of those skill check situations. But I think she's really fun. She adds a different layer into a lot of team fights, and it's just one of those ADs that you can just hit your R button and go burn. It feels real good.
Yeah, I feel like she's just so much more boring than Zeri, personally. Like, just
boring?
The auto attack animation.
Ooh.
Now, I know this is a very nerd thing to talk about,
though.
but like, the auto attack animation feels very like punchy. It feels right for just like hitting someone with her weapons. But I don't know, she feels very like floaty. It takes a little bit for her damage to ramp up. I don't necessarily. I think maybe there might be a passover on her passive. I don't think it's necessarily working as intended. She's supposed to be like this AP crit marksman, but doesn't necessarily.
I still hold that the passive is there out of spite. I'm just there's maybe.
But she's already gated by like her range, her
but
MS.
The devs had talked so much about the fact that, oh guys, finally we're releasing something with one sentence passive. Are you happy now? And I feel like that's why, like, maybe we just don't get to use her passive.
Yunara is actually, now I'm thinking about it, probably better in Arena, because there's actually AP crit items in that game mode. We don't have to talk about this anymore. We've got draft already going through here. WE taking away the Gwen, which good to kind of take that away from Sheer, and potentially setting up for that Scion that they have been coveting every single series.
And so far, no support focus, as we usually see that support focus go in the second phase of picks and bans. WE on that blue side are just going to first pick the Trundle. We've had some question marks about blind Trundles in the past. It's going to be instantly answered to by the fire and flame of the Rumble and Corki.
All right, so Corki giving them some early skirmishing. The Rumble there for priority is allow them to play a little bit later. I was wondering what matchup we were going to see. I know that Galio has really fallen out of favor in topside. So taking the Ornn already from WE, I'm liking this. I think that what you've already set up for yourself gives you a lot of pick potential with the Trundle. And then Ornn, obviously, talking about going later into the game, pieces are going to match that. I love this here for WE.
WE is going full-on scaling as they get the Rise in there as well. Some mobility out of mid lane, which I got to say is going to be impactful when we talked about that mid lane head-to-head. We'll see what they want to grab for FPX on the other side before we go into the second phase. Getting some tools for Dway to get that setup, to get that shot calling underway could be the at least go-to for FPX so far.
Okay, FPX, they need to be thinking about not only the Nautilus, but I think in particular getting rid of the Alistar, just making sure that Vampire's not engaged. There's been a few games now where WE have put Vampire on things like Braum that I'm not necessarily too excited about. Even his Nico, while I think in lane he was one of the better Nicos that we saw in support, I think he treated it too much like he was playing an actual tank and didn't necessarily respect the HP. That's such an important part when you are playing frontline, is when you are allowed to take damage.
Yeah, and that can sometimes be a difficult process to work through in these fights, especially for some of the lower tier teams on the totem pole here. But as we go in the second phase, we do have that Poppy ban focusing on what can be some of that mobility lockdown, but it will be the Yone ban, at least by WE, so focusing that mid lane matchup for the Rise.
Such an interesting start to this draft because WE have absolutely zero priority on Gwen. They have a lot of champions that I think really suffer versus her, and then the Poppy for FPX, it's a champion that we've seen be so widespread, but one of the few teams in the LPL that have absolutely zero priority on this kind of champion. So no Alistar taken away. Kind of interesting to me. I mean, you're still leaving options for Vampire to play that forward aggressive kind of player that he is.
God, if they get Alistar, that front line is beefy. I mean, grade A Wagyu style for WE if they end up getting that. But we'll see. Maybe FPX want to go with a little bit of a lighter comp, maybe something a little bit less on the healthy side to try to counteract that monkey subjugation. FPX gonna still have their counter pick available to them as well as they go ahead and wait for their fourth pick.
Maybe they're waiting for like a Silas angle if you know that you're going to be getting an Alistar. I think that knowing that the Ahri is coming on through makes me a little bit sad. We see WE right now. I think you do need some kind of bot lane that's going to be able to push around. It's hard to get priority versus a Corki early on, but that is something that I would be thinking about. Potentially even stuff like Jhin just to be able to hold down the lane. That's not the case. It looks like they're going to be going for more dive. I like this. They've now swapped in terms of their compositions here from WE. Instead of necessarily trying to play side lanes with this Rise, I think making sure that you can dive, get this Trundle into a good spot, allow him to have all of this engaged around him, setting up WE for success.
I really like WE's composition here. I feel like FPX were just left to grab some of the scraps, and I might come back to regret saying that. But on paper, without execution being a threshold here, WE's comp looks so stout moving forward. Their win condition is clear, and it's extremely important that we set that up for WE ahead of time because this could be their first series win of the split.
Oh, I'm just worried here, Lennon, because like FPX, they do have tools to be able to fight. It is as plain as day. You have a Ahri to set up alongside this Vi. This Vi-Ahri combo is still potent even after nerfs to both of these champions. But we're on 25-15. Alistar has now lost 7 base armor, now going down 40, which sounds kind of nerdy, but you're also playing into Corki, who more often than not is going to start Gatling Gun, and he has his passive. I need to see FPX in the laning phase really take it to their opponents before these first 1.5 items really come through. Otherwise, I think things start to get very dicey.
That's the difference between the two compositions. There's a lot of room for mechanical execution on the side of FPX to get those advantages, but it is a comp that wants to have a bit of a snowball. Yes, you have some scaling, you have some team fight ability as well as you go later, but you look on the other side, there's some big guns on that side as you go on. You get a lot of scaling on the side of WE, so I'm looking for FPX to try to set the tone early.
That's the plan. Maybe a couple early dragons. You're going to have priority here with this bottom lane. Milky Way in particular, man. Lead the game from the front.
Well, here we go. First game and only series of the night. WE versus FPX. Game 1 kicking off now.
We're going to have to fix this, guys. Oh, what were these Jaios? This was all over the place. I heard some weak-willed ones. Oh,
the signage was good, though. The signage was good.
We've only got one series tonight, man.
Vampire. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I agree. We should send a letter.
A strongly written letter.
A strongly worded letter.
Here's a modest proposal for all your Jaios. Well, early game here, Lennon. Doesn't seem like we're going to get too much action, especially from Trundle, but I think Milky Way needs to be very, very careful as to where and when he shows up on the map, because you do not want to be getting run down by the big old ugly beast in the jungle.
I do expect a little bit of skirmishing potential between the two junglers. Obviously, opposite sides maybe makes that a little bit less often that it's gonna be happening. But I also want to, since we have a little bit of time here, what is your thoughts and feelings about the spellbook meta here for supports? Because I love it. I think the variability that it brings to the table is so fun.
So I've kind of talked about this before, but support doesn't usually have a lot of ways of interacting with the game outside of just playing engage a lot of the time. And so letting support players play the map a little bit wider, definitely really strong. I'm going to be sad when this gets nerfed because eventually this is going to happen.
You think
and
so?
probably this rune's probably just going to get removed from the game, unfortunately, because it can never balance it. Same reason we didn't have like Omni Stone for a long time.
Yeah, true. Kleptomancy's gone. Man, all of them are gone.
Turns out breaking the rules is pretty OP.
True. FPX will end up getting the initial prio down here. We'll move out for a little bit of vision to stay safe. Luckily, they are doing that, as we will see that monkey pathing going down towards bot side. I do believe that's 100th game in the LPL for both Karis and Taeyun, as LCK calendar transfers. Feels really good.
Welcome to the league. Gonna be noted here that because FPX never really crossed the river line, they never established vision over into Monkey's jungle camps. That is not the same that can be said here for WE. They had a ward on Milky Way's Raptors, so they know he's on the top side of the map right now. Cube does need to be a little bit careful, but he's playing full health Ornn at this moment, and he has Biscuits. I think he's under absolutely no threat here.
Yeah, we look at the states of lanes. I mean, Karis has a Omega push on Care. We're actually going to see Vampire get a double knockdown down here on the bot side. So he's going to have to use his crash down out of there. They will get that extra push going for themselves as Monkey goes for a bit of an invade play. Won't be anything over here for him to take, but using this priority of his lanes very well to use this pressure at least.
Yeah, Vampire is going to be able to clear out this ward. Vampire is going to be able to clear out the ward. Trundle, I wonder if he just goes for a recall and races top because he sees this lane. It's going to be too late for him at this point. Maybe they're just going to opt for a swap here into Rumble. It makes the most amount of sense and would definitely help out WE's kind of win condition that we set out for them.
Yeah. All right. They will be doing that as we do see Taeyun moving up towards topside. Cube should go ahead and get that reset going. See if that match is going to be there. So far, Yachi and Dway are just going to be clearing this one, trying to get it pushed in. Should be matching now.
So they're going to be late for this. This will mean that Rumble's going to be able to push this in. Ornn's going to catch this wave. So what this ends up meaning in the grand scheme of things here, Lennon, is that Taeyun's going to potentially catch up at least one wave's worth of minion gold versus his opponents, which you can kind of see equalizes the matchup as we see already.
Yeah. Which I think is appreciated at this point. But I got to start making the question here. Level 6s, I mean, that needs to be a game moment for FPX. Need to find that proactivity. The Vi Ahri is such a lethal combo, as you had said in the draft. After all these nerfs, it still finds success. It still finds play. But we said it at the beginning. They need to be the one with the ball in their hands.
And a large part of that will come through unlocking these supports. I think very quickly we are going to see both Dway and Vampire leave these 280 carries on their islands.
Oh my god, Vampire not realizing he doesn't have the health bar. That armor shred is definitely bringing him second thoughts on the Alistar. We'll get out though after he flashes and heals.
Okay, I won't lie, Lennon. This is one way you can unlock your support. Let them take an early recall, and then they get to just walk mid. I mean, sure. It's solo experience here now for Taeyun.
That's going to feel good as he was falling a little bit behind in CS. Monkey will be spotted out while he takes the dragon. No real response going to be available for FPX as they are moving Milky Way over. They have Dway coming as well. They actually hit a charm on the Karis. Dragon taking a while to burn here, but there's a bunch of bodies here. Oh, they are surrounding. It is like sharks, but they are cosplaying as phoenixes. There's the equalizer down. Dragon does end up going to Monkey in the end. They're going to try to realm buff over the wall. He was going like 5 feet anyways. Karis trying to get the flash over the thick part of the wall carrier, going for the kills. He's going with the FPX banner as well. The resets with the Spirit Rush as they were trying to look for the finishing touches. Nice unstoppable from Cube there to get away from the charm.
Still a huge amount of gold going into the right pockets here for FPX. Care getting those 2 kills, getting some more stacks on his Dark Seal. And now Sheer, he gets this entire wave, potentially this turret plate as well. This is what we wanted to see from FPX. It's still the Dragon going over to WE, which has been a hallmark of their early game so far in split number 3. They get to secure this. Karis, I think you just got to be able to use the flash there. I recognize that he trusts Vampire to block, so that was a great response coming in from the Ahri.
Yeah, I could see it. I could see the angle why you go for that one. It's just funny when you see a Realm Warp cast that close, and then obviously Care pounces on him. And I got to talk about that man, Care, because honestly, this is perfect to FPX's gameplay. They want to fight WE early, and the fact that Care now, honestly, the pillar player for FPX after all these years is going to be set up for success.
He's had so many games where I'm like, holy crap, Care, yeah, this is
Yeah,
the
right?
guy I wanted to
This
see
is the
for so many
franchise
years.
guy.
But a lot of invisible games as well, where he doesn't necessarily kind of live up to some of that hype that we had seen from him in those games. So maybe this is one of those, right? This is that Care performance that reminds us why he's been on this lineup for so long. We have the Grub spawning in 15 seconds, and I think it's very risky here for WE to try to contest this with level 6s now available for Milky Way and no flashes for some of the members.
Yeah, a little bit topsy-turvy now, but I think Grubs would be a great boon for both sides in terms of their siege potential. Milky Way and Monkey going to meet up. Instant flash from Milky Way. That's a really good call to get away from the pillar because lockdown was coming immediately after. But now no flash for the Grub fight.
Okay, let's see. Vampire could look for a re-entry, looking onto Milky Way potentially.
Oh, why is WE fighting though? We immediately get the pull from FPX's way, finds a massive crash down. Vampire getting low and now going to give resets to Care. Care can just go monstrous. That franchise player, he's finally stepping up to the bat and he misses the charm as I say that. They're going to turn back to the Grubs.
This was doomed from the start though. Like Cube gets a push in a wave and you saw that Sheer, he didn't have the TP to match, so he just needed to be in position, ready to go. FPX, they fought another kill. They get all of these Grubs, which is exactly what they needed. They may have not gotten the first Dragon, but another objective going their way gives them some side lane pressure as this game goes on. And Jway, man of the hour, next to Care, gets a 3-man crash down with the Magnet Storm. I just don't understand, Lennon. What are WE doing here?
I mean, we said it for minute one. We beat it like a dead horse. Do not fight. You are a scaling team. You need to get items under you. And that's 2 fights in a row. They were not set up and still fighting in the end. But I think this gives a perfect zoom in of how much impact these supports can have. On the negative side for Vampire, for sure, in some of these moments. But Jway, like, this man is a absolute machine when he's on it for FPX. He finds the engage. He hand delivers it to the rest of the team.
He was so exciting last year. I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance. It's hard to get underneath having to play a player like Crisp and Mako. So I'm glad that we get to see Jway back up on the lineup, and he has been so exciting since this team has been able to find success in Split 2. So hopefully for FPX, we can continue to see more and more winning ways for these guys.
And now their composition is kind of just cruising. As I'm going to say that's 1,000th kill for Care. Probably something like that. Maybe we can have Kai second check us. But I do believe that was kills, which is kind of crazy. But that's the also little thing about Care is it's not like he's a new player. Like if we say he's a franchise player, it's because he's been around for a long time for FPX in terms of development. And, you know, after FPX kind of finally shed all their world championship stature with all the players finally leaving, Chris being the last to hit the lights as he goes out, you know, Care was left there to be the man.
It's been 4 years, man. Like him joining FPX Blaze, coming on through. And look, he's in a good spot. I mean, we're 11 minutes into this game. Milky Way and Care have already finished their first items. Plus, they're the early game team that we had set up. Dragon's now here. I need to see what WE can get done in this moment because there's not even topside camps for Monkey to do here. Oh, boy.
They're just completely caught out now. Vampire losing chunks of his health at a time to Care. There's a charm. Maybe one more will come in. Not going to be there. Does get hit by the Malignants in the end, but he'll instantly have to back. And the Dragon is spawned, so FPX should be able to just grab this one and stop that stacking for WE.
No teleport available for the Alistar, so like you just said, very clearly going to be their objective to control as FPX. We're getting a picture-in-picture. This must have been how Taeyun lost his ultimate. That makes sense. But now they're going to make a dive.
Oh,
Even
no.
with them not having ultimates, let's get some summoner spells. He has no flash right now.
Vampire's here. He just hit 6 as well, so he'll finally have the Unbreakable Will. I think that makes things a bit different. You can see FPX hesitant because Realm Warp was also possible to come in from cars from mid.
But they needed to do this. They need to be able to shift up the lanes, get some unlucky timers here for Team WE. So I like the fact that we're seeing progressive movements here. And right now it's only 2,000 gold here for FPX. This is about where we want to see them at 12 minutes.
Again, the car is riding along. We're just cruising. Cruise control is on. We're chilling. Are you a cruise control liker?
I am afraid of pressing the cruise control button on my car because I have yet to read the instruction manual in depth.
You never used it? Okay. Cruise control is
I've used it once.
Cruise
but like,
control is OP.
I guess?
For long drives, it's so good. But I will say, my car, I have a Dodge Charger from like 2014, and I didn't know it, but there was a recall because apparently the cruise control would just rev the engine and just go, like it would just keep speeding up at some random times. So I never touched my cruise control for like the last 7 years or something. Even though I went and got it fixed and everything, I'm like, what if it just like starts speeding up all of a sudden and then, you know, there's nothing you can really do about it. So cruise control could be a dual-ended beast.
I'm very afraid of every time I've pressed it on my car, it just goes to 30, and I'm like, oh, this is boring. There's nothing to do here. Like,
You
it's
can
not.
change the speed.
Yeah. Also, I want it to like. I like the feeling of control, especially in a large vehicle, right?
Yeah.
So, as we get back into this game, Lennon, still not much doing. I mean, we got a minute and a half before the Herald here, and I think there's now more reason than we've seen in the last 13 minutes for WE to actually contest. They finished some items here. I think Kaisa in particular is really strong, especially with the Kraken Slayer changes that we saw come in.
Yeah, and I do really like the Trinity Force spike as well for the Trundle. And now having the subjugation, things like that to try to pick apart these fights, really targeting Dway and Milky Way with those. But it is going to be a conversation about these next objectives. At least the Rift Herald is WE want to make a preemptive plan to care, but it has been spotted out. He's going to flash out just in case. Would rather flash than use the ultimate. That's a little bit question marky for me, but does end up getting out nonetheless.
I think it's fine. Like 30 seconds, he doesn't have teleport, but the fact that he has Malignance means that you're going to have this ultimate up. You're going to have a pseudo flash with a smaller timer. So just use this. I think there's also the combat efficacy of the ultimate that he gets access to. So he's going to be able to push in one more wave. WE are way too early for this. They didn't even get a meaningful amount of vision set up for this objective.
There is a bit of an item differential with Sheer being a little bit behind. Maybe trying to get a back off and be able to TP into the fight. But FPX, as you said, FPX move in after WE lose a little bit of their tempo after showing up so early. And now it's going to be a contest over Prio in mid lane first and foremost.
And Dway still has full HP. The only thing that's missing here for FPX is they don't have a flash for their mid laner. But Care right now looking in top, or I'm looking in the bottom lane right now. Sheer is so close to level 11. He has to be able to wait for this if he wants any possibility of upgrading the equalizer.
Dway and Milky Way missed their shot, so Vampire feels like he can go back in. As he goes back in, loses about half his health. He's going to have to back away now. Did end up burning the heal. He's actually going to choose to stick around as FPX have started up the Rift Herald. WE are hesitant here. They are under vision. They're going to move over anyways, and Vampire's forced to pop the Unbreakable Will.
What are we doing with this teleport? We're too late now. All right, WE, Hail Mary, brother.
All right, they're going to choose that Hail Mary to leave. As they do take their slow and steady escape, Rift Herald will go to FPX.
I'm stunned. I've been flashbanged. I've been Sona ulted in real life. I'm speechless. Like FPX, they have 3 grubs. Now they have feats of strength already completed. they can play this in so many different ways, Lennon. If they don't want to prioritize the Dragon and want to get short-term gold, they have 3 Grubs and a Herald that they can use anywhere else on the map. Pings are coming out, and they still have these massive teamfight ultimates at their fingertips. So
yeah,
WE are confounding me in so many ways.
But honestly, that's a little bit of the story of the split. I mean, you got to remember, this team has not found a victory yet in this in series score, at least. It's been a tough sledding, 0-5 in a double round robin, still feels omega bad. And the losses keep coming. We'll see if they can try to right that ship in some way or fashion. But FPX have decided they just want to fight the Dragon. They say WE don't have the stuff to contest us. And right now, WE haven't given us anything to say otherwise.
Sheer's going to be able to join up with his team. Taeyun and Karis, the big damage dealers, are nowhere near.
Here we go, double knock-up. The crash down goes a little bit wide from Dway, but look, it's a front to back, and FPX love that. The Spirit Rush is there, but look at Taeyun. He finds the kill, double knock-up there. Cease and desist right onto him, and it's an R-diff, baby. Vi for Milky Way comes online, and FPX destroy Team WE on the next fight, and that's going to be onto the Dragon, too.
Oh my god, Milky Way! I want everybody to watch Milky Way in this replay, man. Just
insane.
Getting the flash predict onto Taeyun and the rest of WE. It is going from bad to worse. If this game ends up going hyper late, WE can find a chance back into this. But looking at this fight, it's just doomed. Like, Vampire has no HP to start. And even with this engage, look at this from Milky Way. Only onto Dway. He gets the blast back from his E, and then right here, Taeyun, like, he ults in, flashes back over the wall. I'm so confused by the decision.
He just wanted the kill to get out.
I guess, but look what happens. You lose the fight, you lose the Dragon, and guess what? FPX still have a Herald if they want. They can take over this entire map.
And I want you to screenshot your screen. If you're an FPX fan, take this moment, put it in your pocket, keep it for safekeeping, because this is what prime FPX these days looks like. 100% KP on Milky Way, Care, and Dway. If you have that for FPX, you have the world. And it's looking like a complete team diff right now in game number 1.
Won't lie, Lennon, if my jungle, mid, and support are the most involved in the game, I think that's a championship-winning roster right there. That's a recipe for success. Now, do I think FPX are picking up a trophy this season? The odds are not looking good. I think less than 1%, but not 0.
Not 0, he says. But yeah, I mean, it's just tough sledding for WE to look for anything on the map now. Again, from the beginning, this FPX team has been a snowball-oriented team, and they continue to find success with that.
WE are thankful that they picked up the first Dragon, at least being able to grab that for themselves. Not even really be able to deal any damage. I feel bad for Monkey because he's obviously a big leader for this team vocally, and when you look at the composition built around him, he is starting to lose out on jungle camps very, very quickly. Already a turret falling on bottom side. This will be a turret in mid lane, if not on this wave, then the next. And that'll just mean that the struggle is not going to get any stronger.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try to go for an engage. Vampire was looking for a flank here. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. Cube found a flank TP as well, goes for the double knockup. Care still has everything available to him, though. Looking for resets of his own, though, and there's been 2 picks by WE. They are back in it.
Okay, they were able to grab it. This is going to be Otacon, right? Like, look at the experience differential that's about to happen on your screens. They're going to shoot up to potentially a full level and a half over their opponents, and that could be a mistake that costs FPX a game here in this series. I know it's early, but Milky Way looked completely lost in that last fight. It gives them an opening on the side of Team WE.
Yeah, the 100% KP doesn't matter if you can't find access. I think that's going to be the continued biggest question for FPX. WE, they put a little bit of a hamper on that movement forward for FPX. This is a pretty big objective to be able to take away by them.
These cannot be stumbles. I like this from FPX, though. Still play the map, use those 3 grubs. They got the mid-tier one like they wanted. They move into top side. They're able to secure that as well. So not letting it completely collapse in front of them, being able to drive their gold lead here.
We're going to take a look back at that replay here. The TP flank coming through, the double flank.
But like this entire fight from Milky Way is so bankrupt. Like, we're ulting, we miss Vampire. We tried to Q over the wall because we didn't have vision. We only saw the Call of the Forge God like trail. So our Vi is essentially useless in this fight. And like we saw, the rest of the team got caught up with all of the crowd control thanks to how WE ended up layering it with Cube. So I don't know. I feel like if this is going to be a WE win here in this first game, Lennon, we are going to see that replay a couple times.
Yeah, we are, because I gotta say, it's starting to get a little bit scary. It's not there just yet, but second items are gonna be there for Taeyun and Karis. And remember, in their 100th game in the LPL now, maybe it's just that scaling that WE need.
They know that in LPL and in most games, especially amongst the lower end teams, scaling is just going to prevail. Eventually, these teams are going to make mistakes on the map. So I think I respect the... Yeah, that is true. Right now, Ahri is pushing really deep. You have the teleport as well to be able to match. I am wondering if FPX are willing to give this up. I know it looks really strange, and wanting to fight, not fight for what could be your sole point is good, but you're seeing item spikes really start to come on through here for WE. I mean, a minute before, Karis is going to finish his Rod of Ages, so he'll be level 15 soon. Like you said, the double items here for Taeyun. You might want to take your chances elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm surprised that they kind of let Care take that entire side lane turn. Now 700 gold going his way. Now they are a little bit split, but they are gonna be able to get that dragon nonetheless. So it'll tie it up 2-2 on the Mountain Soul, trying to get to that point at least. And now
I like
pushing
this.
on the 2-2. The Realm Warp's huge though. I mean, it gets WE right back to the defense side, and Milky Way will have to get out.
Still, I liked it, making sure that FPX, they're playing aggressive, man. This is exactly what we needed to see. I was ready to see two kind of flaccid teams walk in and not really know what they want to do on the map, maybe play really sloppy around objectives, and it hasn't been clean, but at least we're seeing FPX really pressure WE across these structures.
Oh, Milky Way just says, we're going. None of the rest of the team was ready to go. He's all by himself. He immediately flashes away. The Horn goes completely wide. I think it hit my fridge, and FPX and WE calm down.
You just saw there, Milky Way, he did like his entire full rotation of spells, and wait, Care, we don't have ultimate charge.
Care just used his last charge in, had to flash out. WE takes full advantage of that. Care just threw away everything. That's going to be a double kill right back. Milky Way's able to fight back. Now Care might pick up some of the pieces here. Monkey gets hit by the Ashes, and now you have the double knockup coming in. Cube is trying to pick apart this one, but Sheer is burning them all alive. How did Care go from inting his team to finding an ace for FPX? My God.
I don't want to absolve Care of all of his sins for that fight, because the rest of FPX really put in overtime to make sure that ended up going the way that it did. But goddamn, WE does that not feel good to be able to at least be able to slow down the game a little bit there. Some trips and stumbles there. It makes the goal lead expand to almost 6,000. I agree. It's looking questionable, but all of this damage on the Vampire is fine. He's going to end up ticking down thanks to a lot of the burn damage that's available.
Yeah.
But this is a huge overcommit from WE.
It is. I mean, they smell blood in the water for sure. And the fact that he gets so close to falling in the end but doesn't fall. He now, if we go back to live after this, he has 22 stacks of the Magi. Yeah. I mean, this Ahri is a monster, unkilled as well. And rightfully so, putting resources into the Care basket.
This was something that we did say, hey, while we are worried for FPX if the game goes on, the one shining piece for them right now is that they kept their shutdowns. Jway's going to get out of this fight. They're looking.
Care's in trouble now, though. Has nothing available to him. They knew he didn't have the flash, and now FPX have overextended. Sheer, a massive equalizer right in the middle of everybody from WE. They have to run away. It will just be a little bit of a dissuading tool because Jway and Care are already gone.
But can WE actually start this Baron? I don't think so. Look at the HP bars right now. Cube's looking for a teleport back in. Monkey, very, very low. You'll have one final smite proc here. Let's see. Can Milky Way get in? He's on the wrong side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, he tries to go for the kill on the cube. Shear's just in the middle of the pit, but nobody can get anything there for FPX. Now Vampire is the focus from Jachi. It is Shear who almost gets the kill back. Milky Way is just going ham now, picking them apart. And Kair's going to dodge out, but gets the fist nonetheless. Milky Way does end up making good on that. They lose the Baron, and it goes over to 2 members of WE, but FPX, they have the tempo.
And WE might lose out on this dragon spawning in a minute and a half because with 3 grubs, FPX, they immediately answer, move in the mid lane, take that tier 2, and can set up very easily to put them in position for that soul point. Man, WE losing that Baron on so many crucial members, particularly that Ryze, makes it so difficult for this objective to really feel meaningful.
And it was a good play call from them. It's just the execution that continues to be question marks. And that's the tough part about WE. That's the tough part about the 0-5 start in Split 3 and how difficult it has been for this team to put something together.
We're in this replay. I liked how Vampire and Cube were able to start this, but with Shear just baking the backline. I think most of this fight doesn't honestly matter for the most part, but for me, what I'm looking at is FPX, they got the shutdowns, right? They were able to pick off Kair, or sorry, WE were able to get shutdowns during all of this, and they got the Baron gold. So they've kept this gold lead within 4,000 to 5,000.
Yeah.
The Dragons are really, we're not going to see another soul for at least potentially a 6-7 minutes from now.
Yeah, it's going to be a while, and that leans to the favor of WE. We also have ornaments coming through as well. The Nashor's Tooth has been upgraded for Taeyun. He's on 3 items on the Kai'Sa. That is the threshold. That's the break point that really means that Kai'Sa comes online. It's just about now those entrances into these fights. As the Dragon goes down, WE are willing to give this one away, trying to utilize the rest of their Baron buff here if they can.
Such a waste of a Baron buff. Like, maybe they get one more turret to smack here in mid lane. It looks like FPX are just going to trade this structure for that, put themselves on Mountain Soul Point. W are fishing, though. They want something. They want to try to catch someone off, maybe get some of these summoner spells away from Shear.
They do catch Shear. He flashes really late, and the Ornhorn's going to come across, knock him down. Taeyun finds him. That's 1,000 gold over. Crash down here. This is a front to back that FPX love, though. Nice double knock up into the back line. A triple knock up in the left. Look at Taeyun, though. He's getting locked down. Goes golden. Buys so much time, but Jachi and the rest of FPX have surrounded him like hounds, or more like phoenixes, as they light their fire. Kair will chase the rest of WE.
They're going to get all of this. This is a 4-man play here where FPX, they take them down. They got the Dragon. WE, more of the same. What have we seen from them all split long here, Lennon? It is them being over-eager on objectives, them trying to really outfight their opponents, where maybe that would have worked in Split 2. It is not working here. You said that Shear flashed a little too late, but they have no way of interacting with him. Look where the rest of his team is right now. Even this flash, the eventual knockup eventually brings Taeyun, but that's all your tools. You have no subjugate anymore.
In the middle of the equalizer as well, the crash down from Tway, and that's the supportal impact you need to see for FPX, and I appreciate the dissection that FPX have had against WE in a lot of these fights.
Both of these teams play relatively short-range compositions, but when you have an Ahri, that just means that you have a little bit further reach than your opponent. When you have this Corki, you have a little bit further to be able to actually attack them. Whereas Kai'Sa, she's like, oh crap, I have to be able to walk into a Rumble, into a Vi. This is never going to go well for me here. So that was also the Seeker's arm guard gone now from Taeyun. He will not have access to that until he finishes his Zonias. This is only going to get tougher.
They had to show the negative Baron power play there. Negative 31 gold.
Happens.
And that power play feels a little bit bad for WE. But I was talking about the Magi stacks. As I said, he had 22. He gets caught out in that crazy fight in mid. Loses it, goes down to 12. Baby's back. He's 24 now on the Magi's. And Kair really stepping up in this game, number one. I think him and Milky Way's combinations, it was what brought this team to those playoff moments, to those high highs that we had all gotten so excited about Milky Way for. It was this combo, this mid-jungle duo, and we're looking at them pick them apart again. Milky Way and Kair, arm in arm, combining together with Shear to find more picks, and Monkey goes down.
But it was the other way around, Lennon. Remember when we were talking about Milky Way last year? It was, okay, this guy is going to hard carry through the jungle. Kara is going to pick up things like the Ahri. He's going to play things like Annie to set up Milky Way for success. I feel like it's been the complete opposite here in this game, whereas Kara's really taken this game by the horns. And we see it reflected in the scoreline. You can see it individually, 3,000 gold over his opponent. And this Ahri is incredibly difficult for WE to kind of put down.
Yeah, I didn't know Kara was part of the World Championship Rodeo, whatever it is called. I forget what it's called. I don't know. The Touring Rodeo Championship.
This is all you, man. I have no stake in this pool.
They even have like a broadcast, and so it was pretty cool. But yeah, that's Kara thematically now. But honestly, with this series, it's one of those moments that he needed to step up. I mean, if FPX can go to 2 and 4, that's much different of a story in this kind of double round robin setup we have in split number 3 than going 1 and 5, right? And it gives a little bit more hope for FPX to try to make that push.
Very important for them to be able to win, because this is a team that we expect to be fighting them at the bottom of the standings in Group Ascend. So every win you are able to take in the double round robin means that you're going to have a likely better matchup going into the play-ins for playoffs here. So we see some posturing from FPX. They want to see if they can get a push on from mid and then choose which objective they want to go for, right? Because you have Soul spawning in 50, but with 3 grubs, you might be able to make a claim that you can end the game with this Baron that is now up.
I will also say, though, slightly, I mean, WE's lead is about 4,000, or deficit's about 4,000. They have a ton of ornaments coming online now. So I would say that lead is not as big, and they are coming into their powerhouse moments, right? That 4th item spike is really another big step up for them, and they're just going to force the Baron hand in front of FPX. FPX are scrambling to figure out what they want to do, and they've already lost the objective.
Like, why were we doing this? Okay, Joshy's going to be here. This could actually turn into a very good play for FPX in a moment.
I think, yeah, WE are overextending just a little bit. They do have Baron buff on 5 members. Dragon is coming up now. Kare has found the flank of all flanks, but maybe they can catch out on Jachi. He is going to get low. He does have to use the Valkyrie out, but now they've lost everything. 4-man knock-in by Tway, and that might just replace my favorite clip of the split. Tway just cuts them down to size, and WE have nothing left in this fight. We said scaling. We said all these moments that needed to come alive for them. Milky Way will not find Taeyun in the end, but the rest of FPX will. They're going to chase him down. He tries to go in for a flashing play, but he'll die nonetheless, and Kare picks him off in the end.
FPX, all they needed to do is corral WE. I had some questions as to whether or not that Dragon was going to work, but all of it just a bait as Jachi was coming out of base with a completed item. Kare ends up getting a huge flank like we saw, and that's going to be FPX taking game 1 of this series.
Dway just keeps doing insane things. I mean, that was definitely WE fighting off more than they can chew. But Dway able to punish them as soon as they do. It's the double FPX emotes to cap it all off. But game number 1 is a slugfest between FPX and WE. And the Phoenix will rise high for game number 1 victory.
Okay, good start to the series. FPX being able to find that, and for my fellow WE fans, we gotta hold out hope, okay? Game 2, Scion's available, there's no Trundle. We got Skarner potentially here. A lot of good things in our future as long as the draft goes our way.
Yeah, that's the big ticket item right there. As long as it goes your way. Unfortunately, we did end up seeing a lot of the same WE that we've seen across all the other series that we've had, where there's some moments of some togetherness, some brightness, but you look back, some of them stakes, right? This is a composition that wanted to scale, really wanted to reach that 3rd, 4th item. We were fighting over every single objective. Even if there weren't objectives up, we were fighting over mid lane prio. And I think those kinds of moments, that is the difference between a top-tier team and a team like WE.
Well, the difference between a top-tier team and a team like WE is probably winning some of those fights, because our front runner for LPL has been BLG, and they take some of the worst objective fights, and they just win because they got better hands. So I agree with you, though, Lennon.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like WE, that first dragon fight just really confuses me. We're playing a Kaisa setup where we don't even have some of our ultimates up and available. Why are we looking for that? Even the first set of grubs that we saw, WE just more and more of the same over-aggressive takes on objectives end up backfiring.
Yeah, and that's something you can't see even in these kinds of moments against FPX. When you're right there in the mud with them, you still need to find those moments of realizing what your composition does and how to execute it. And I think FPX did a really good job of realizing that. I love that you said it. KR kind of grabbed the game by its horns because he really did. A lot of the time, it's the Vi that starts the setup in that combination. And we saw that at the very beginning, right? But as soon as KR started feeling confident, he was literally like melee ranging Alistars and trying to find those big angles in these team fights. And I think that is a nice step up in a moment where you could play that more as like, oh, I'm the carry, everybody play around me, do things for me, where he goes out and does it himself.
I'm glad to see that from KR. I'll just be honest here, Mazel, like, I don't know how many more of these performances from FPX I got in me, because it pains me, right? Like, we've been here for 8 months now, 9 if you also count the Demacia Cup. How many of these games are we going to get from KR where we're like, damn, you look so good.
Damn,
how can we not get that consistently throughout the season? Even if it is up against teams like TT or NIP in Split 2, why can we not get this like 60 to 70% of the games?
I agree, and that will forever be the question. Maybe until KR's career comes to an end. But maybe it'll change. Maybe we'll see. Hey, I'm not saying when that's going to happen. It could happen anytime. It could be 40 years from now. But we do see a very one-sided game from FPX. There were some fightbacks. You see those little chunks in the gold graph. That's where, some of those compositional strength really aligned for WE. And Taeud was having himself a performance on that Kaisa. He was diving all over the place in those team fights, but unfortunately it wasn't enough. And now that pick isn't going to be on the table for the rest of the series.
I went rummaging through some stats. It is so funny to me that we come into this saying there's going to be a huge focus on mid lane, whether or not these two are going to be able to perform. I look at KR in the league. He has some of the lowest CS per minute, some of the lowest gold per minute generation, so he's not usually very wealthy. Damage per minute also, he's the lowest in his role. And then gold difference at 15, he has the worst gold at 15 in the entire league. Not just in mid lane, anywhere in LPL. Crazy. So to see him have such a large performance, the one good stat that I was able to pull for him, highest kill percentage of any mid at almost 80%.
He's who they play around. He's who they find success around sometimes, most of the time, when they do find success. Another little stat that came up in that game that I thought is actually hilarious is FPX has 100% first turret win percentage, which at 1-4 with the series that they've had is hilarious to me. But it's just a little thing, it's just a little thing.
Their first turret percentage is 9.1. They are the worst team in the league at taking the first turret. Reasonably so, especially when we have seen them game. Yeah, there you go. Or keep it. I think WE had a very similar stat actually in Split 2, which I thought was very funny. So I'm glad you're tapped in on that.
Yeah. Same page, man. Same page. There's just a lot of overextension from WE, and I think it's good for FPX to capitalize on those. I don't necessarily know if it gives us like super confidence in them just taking straight on game fights, like even fights and things along those lines, but you have to be able to capitalize on mistakes, and I think WE just overextending so many times into a comp that was really good at kind of counteracting that engage and diving through. Got to give massive shout-outs to Jway. I don't know who's going to get MVP here. I do expect it to be KR, but I think Jway had so much impact, and if he doesn't get a little bit of a nod at least, I'll be very sad. Because, again, this replaces the Alistar play for me. Like, this is insane.
For sure. I think KR just deserves it for the body of work he put throughout the game. There were moments there from Jway where it looked really nice, but a lot of these plays don't work if... I think they still work more or less the same if Jway hadn't landed as many people in the Magnet Storm. I think if KR doesn't put out the damage that he does in this game, these fights are not as convenient here for FPX. And you talked about it there a little bit. Like, sure, they're not necessarily being more proactive of punishing their opponents, but they are catching some of the tosses that WE were throwing towards them. And as a competitor, you have to just say, like, screw it, dude. We can't just be focused on trying to play clean League of Legends. We just got to get these wins. Now we're in Split 3. It's chop chop.
Yeah, it's all about the action. It's all about trying to figure out quickly what works for you and how to utilize that in these ways. And especially for FPX, just realizing that, giving this mid-jungle duo a lot of resources has been paying off for them. and how to use that even more so, as we're going to be getting the MVP here now, and do expect it to be that franchise player care in the mid lane for FPX.
Really well earned. Again, we've talked about it now, so exciting to see. And going into the second game of the series, can FPX close out a 2-0, or are we going to get more of that WE magic? Can they maybe find their first win of the season?
I think it's 3 games, baby. I think we need to make up for not having a second series. True. We have to. But that was game 1. It was pretty exciting if you're an FPX fan, see if WE can come back from it. But if you would like to support the LPL English in any way, shape, or form, consider becoming a Coffee member. Coffee is the best way to directly support the LPL English project, since vast majority of your contributions go directly to the show. You can pay, you help pay for talent, the volunteer that talent do. You help pay for broadcast adjustments, upgrading the broadcast in multiple different ways, and helping pay all the content creators as well for all their volunteering. Subscribe to our Coffee, linked in the chat. Unlock perks like early access to content and ability to even provide some questions for our interviews as well. So if you want to support us, please go drop into our Coffee, see if anything fits for you, and give as much as you are willing to give. But that's it for our game number 1 of the day, of our short day. We'll see if WE can bounce back for game number 2.
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear. Driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear. Like an outlaw on the run, dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running.
Any manual readers in chat say I. We are back. This is LPL. We are LPL English, your unofficial home for everything LPL. I just made my co-caster rage quit. I'm Mazel. I'm joined by Alec. We've got Kai behind the scenes as well. A couple of which who read manuals for sure. But before we get into this game at number 2, welcome back, Alec. I'm going to go ahead and do my read, and then we can catch up with you afterwards as well. But we have a new sponsor, if you didn't know. And if you want to play like some pros, you can go check out with our link, prodiff.gg. Take the opportunity to learn directly from pros themselves, whatever your rank. The best way to start climbing now is to schedule a coaching session. They are one-on-one coaching sessions. You'll give them some clips. They'll walk over the clips with you and figure out what they would want to do in those situations, give you ideas on how you can approach it in the next situation. You'll be working one-on-one with active or recent players of NACL, ERLs, LTA, and again, they'll teach you their kind of approach to those situations and really give you that tool on how to improve in the future as well. You get personalized coaching for pros today at prodiff.gg. Go use the code LPL10 at checkout, save 10%, and you get to support the LPL English broadcast as a whole. And it's pretty cool. I've really appreciated prodiff.gg.
Dude, you're double dipping. First you give them an ad read when they're on NACL, then you get to do it here.
They're taking over the world, man. Yeah, they're taking over the world.
So we get back into this game. I'm afraid, Lennon. I'm not gonna lie, because we have two things we were talking about in between the games and before we started this show. One, now with JDG Weibo getting postponed, we might be out here early.
Yeah.
But these are WE and FPX that we're talking about. So who strikes first? Do we get a 2-0 from FPX? Or do we get a WE that's at the very least going to send us to 3?
In my many years of LPL, because I'm an old man now, my go-to way of dealing with these kinds of situations is go with the opposite of whatever you want to happen. Because for some reason, you know, the anti-feeling just stirs something up in the LPL gods, and then you get what you actually wanted. So do with that what you will, and we'll do with what we have, because we have game number 2 coming up now. WE
I don't want an
obviously
official
going to be on the
LPL
blue
broadcast. Ooh, I don't want an official LPL broadcast. Well, here we are. Like you said, we're in the draft already. WE is back on the blue side here. Gwen, Annie, and Pantheon. In my mind, this might be setting up some more of those jungle picks, but honestly, maybe Talia here, especially for a player like Karis. You also could take that away from Kair.
Okay, I like it. Well, it is going to be the first pick, so taking that mobility out of mid lane, also that team fight and objective setup that the Talia brings to the table. There were some likely bans off the table as well from both sides, as that Scion we had mentioned before going into break, the Azir, the Varus, all likely bans to that B1 to kind of whittle down into that Talia pick that WE ended up going with. We'll see what FPX want to go with the other side. The 1-2 punch, I like to call it, with the first 2 picks. The first one's going to be Cassante.
I don't like this. I feel when FPX have done their best, and in particular Sheer, is when he's been given counterpick or lanes that have a little bit more agency. Now, Cassante will still be the same old Cassante. The ability to frontline and take away one of the carries of the fight can be very important as this game goes on. But there are, I think, a few too many matchups that I think Cube can navigate that give scaling over to WE or make it a lot easier for him to take over. So WE on the opposite side, though, I like this play. They already have a ton of setup between Monkey and Vampire. I think that damage might become a bit of an issue, so let's see what they're going for.
I really think Vampire is one of the most boom or bust Nautiluses that we have in the league. Either being the biggest saving grace of his team or being one of the biggest enters on the pick itself. But they have so much lockdown I think gives you some breathing room with that for WE as the Xin Zhao does come through for Milky Way.
I just look at this, Lennon, and I see these first 3 from FPX. You have 2 solo laners that in most matchups are going to be fine, especially with Aurora and her damage early on, a bit of a lane bully, and then gets more stacks of her passive. I'm looking at this as really good amount of damage, and just the way that they can build frontline with Cassante and Xin Zhao is unmatched versus their opponents. So
I'm a little terrified about what the Taliyah does to this comp, especially with the lockdown of the Skarner here in the team fights itself, if all the execution goes perfectly, right? Because the thing about FPX is they'll be looking to go in, and that's where Taliyah comes in clutch.
Maybe this is a Smolder game. It's looking more and more possible. I'm afraid about playing Smolder into Aurora. Xin Zhao obviously throws some spanner in the works, but when you have so much ability as Team WE to slow fights down with Taliyah in particular, I think that Smolder starts to definitely gain a little bit more in priority. You've also gotten rid of now, thanks to FPX, the Ezreal and the Mbessa.
Yeah. Take away those big ticket items that could be used going forward, as we'll see what that counter pick is going to be left for FPX. Maybe the support will counter pick, but they haven't really used that R5 yet so far in this series. Both times just picking a matchup that was already kind of shown, as the Sivir will be locked in for some team fight potential for FPX.
Maybe this is Joy scouting for that Taric that we saw, right? We saw him play Taric such a long time. Let's go! We get Yunara, first time here in the LPL, piloted by Taeyun. Now, I won't lie, Lennon.
Ooh.
As much as I'm excited for Yunara, I don't think she gets the time to be able to actually properly lay down damage in this game. She has a lot of setup from Skarner and this Nautilus, but aside from individual matchups, Aurora can get behind her backline very easily. Cassante can end up dealing with her in unique ways, and she's very short range, so this is kind of tricky here for WE to play out.
I would have liked that other pick way better than this one. I am not the biggest fan of this, but we'll see if it ends up working out. Dway will lock in the set.
I think for the laning phase, these two get to run the map. Sivir, not usually known for her early game ability to fight, but especially in minion waves, she's allowed to hit you. With Ricochet,
Yeah.
she tears apart your minion wave, she's able to deal damage, and set level 1 through 3 is going to overpower a Nautilus early on. So
That is true.
also gives them ability to peel once he gets access to that ultimate. Takes away like a Skarner or, again, a Nautilus.
I expect a lot of focus to be on this bot side then. I love it because we have the 2 kind of heavy wave clear champions. The duality of it, though, is the Ricochet available as soon as you level it up for the Sivir. Pretty strong in that way. But the bounce from the Yunara is way better than the Ricochet, and you can actually find a lot more damage there. So it's about trying to find those timing windows for the Yunara, and Taeyun, rather, willing to take this out for the first time in the LPL. And coming off of that Kai'Sa performance, you already know he's revved up, man. He's on pace for a really kind of mechanically based champion.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the killer instinct to get out, doesn't have the invisibility. He has like a dash, but it's not even that great. I don't know. I think we might be looking at an FPX 2-0. It's not even like they outright win scaling when the game goes later, right? Still, that Aurora is going to be pumping out damage. Sivir on 3 items is going to be a menace to deal with. So another situation where I find WE in the mid game need to be active.
All right, well, we're getting to game number 2. Can WE right the wrongs of game number 1, bring us to even keel, and try to get their first series win under their belt, or will FPX end it here and give us an early night with a 2-0? Don't be embarrassed to
It's
cheer.
tough to be an FPX fan.
No.
I get it. I get it. They didn't even have a very promising, last split, right? Like the highest earning that they got for Split 2 was beating NIP in that play-in series, Game 5. That's it. So,
True.
good to see.
Good to see. Good to see. And all you at home, just know you don't have to be embarrassed to cheer for your team. It's gonna be okay.
You say that, but as a previous TSM fan, I got a lot of flack for being a fan.
Well, maybe that's deserved. So
All right,
we're just gonna move past. Something they talked about on the LTA North broadcast earlier today was the kind of differentiation between the build for the Yunara and the fact we've seen a little bit more leaning into the full-on hit style, especially with the Blade of the Ruined King.
I can't focus with this camera angle, bro. Stop. Stop.
But look at the chickens.
They're
so cute.
Are they chickens?
They look like little chickens.
Oh, they are
little ducks. And she's throwing them at people, though, which, you know, wherever they go, nobody knows. They go somewhere. But you can go with that kind of aggressive first item build to try to combat Sivir a little bit.
I wonder what the items are. Yuntal Wild Airs has taken a bit of a hit in terms of popularity, so I haven't seen too much of her on-hit builds. I know that there was like Blade of the Ruined King and Runons. I wasn't a huge fan of that one, but we'll see what Taeyun's going to be going for. Both junglers starting on the top side of the map, and again, early vision from WE. You're noting where Milky Way is and setting up to protect at least one half of these lanes. That's really what Monkey's going to be doing here.
Oh my god, Dway with a beautiful face breaker as Vampire uses his Spider-Man to get his way out. Taeyun does lose a ton of his health, and this is where some of that range can really come into question here. We'll be able to back off that bot side, but both junglers passing down this way. We'll see what impact they can have.
I just don't understand the blind. Like, you should not be able to take the Yunara into Sivir. I feel like this is not a matchup that is particularly very fun for her to play. Yunara's wave clear isn't all that, especially early on, so right now it's just going to be WE and their ability to receive resources from their opponents. When I'm looking at this map for WE, I want to see the solo lanes really get active, and I don't think we got to see too much of that from WE in their last game.
Yeah, and the other problem is you're so short range that, like, to get the minions, you have to be way closer than is comfortable to that face breaker from Dway.
Yep.
And that's always going to be terrifying to deal with. Monkey is just going to cross over that mid lane. Will be spotted out in the end, so they will know where he's going. There will be the split of that. Taeyun actually ended up having to force a back in the middle of it.
Yeah, now he's screwed though, because
yeah,
he knows Milky Way's behind
That's
this
so
turret,
tough.
And with the ward going down there, he should not be allowed to get over here. Like, Dway should walk forward. Yup, Dway walk forward. Minion's gonna go down here, brother.
Oh, Dway.
Brother.
Did he auto or?
I mean, there was just no minions, right? So he takes the he has to take the turret there. So all right, never mind. I was really excited to see Taeyun lose potentially half a wave. None of that happens. Dway just gives over a kill, and thankfully for FPX, it is on to Vampire, but not much.
Slow, Jachi, not expecting the 99% slow from the W. Vampire couldn't capitalize, didn't feel like burning the flash anyways. As we have that reset coming out from the junglers, and Monkey has gotten the better of Milky Way's top side. We don't care, and Karis going at it in mid lane.
That's the punishment. Good job for Monkey to be able to find all those resources, and especially for this top lane matchup, having access to this Yorick can be very dangerous for sure.
I feel like this is going. I mean, the CS is fine. Is this as expected though? I mean, Sheer is at a huge health deficit.
For Yorick, I think it's fine. They have toned Cassante down pretty considerably since last year. And I think one of the things that people don't tend to think about, especially with systemic changes like what happened to Biscuits, the mana missing on the Biscuits does mean that a lot of those tank top laners that might take them don't have as much regen for their abilities. So does this mean that both of our top laners are just going to be recalling here and teleporting back? Cube gets a huge buy with not only the plated steel caps, but also has his ultimate. So with Grubs in 2 minutes, I think we could start to see WE play a little bit more aggressive, especially with the solo.
Just a little stop off on that Biscuit point. First of all, it hurts so badly, but it's also like if you had found like a pastry shop that makes like a perfect pastry and you go there every day for it, and then one day you show up and that pastry no longer has a filling. That's the feeling when we came back to the game with Biscuit not having mana. That's all.
There was a lot of other things missing, but I'm sure Kai also has a lot of experience of things going missing after a couple of years.
True. A little bit of 3v3 action on the bot side. Sway gets a face breaker in. Vampire now sacrifices his health bar. 3-man Impale coming on from Monkey. As now Milky Way goes in, overextends himself, and if FPX fight like this, they're going to lose this game. FPX goes down to Taeyun.
Aurora's on the way over, and guess what? She just misses a wave. Okay, sure. FPX. That was a great punish from WE. Remember, Milky Way spending all of his time on the bottom lane means that Monkey got some more topside camps. He gets his ultimate first, and that's a huge win there for WE, especially with getting at least one of those kills onto the Yunara.
I'm glad coming into the game, when you were setting up, that you said that you think FPX is going to take this one. It's going to be a 2-0. Because in all reality, you had wanted, since I had set the stage of the opposite day rules, that you wanted 3 games. And WE is delivering. So far, so good.
Just what is Dway doing? The Haymaker
sets
only
support,
landing onto one. He gets the face breaker only onto the Nautilus. You have to be able to save this. Small mechanical errors coming out from the rest of Team FPX, but I'm glad that we got to see our boys on WE actually get something going for them in the early game.
Bro, I hate this set pick. I mean, Dway can stand to reason. He can absolutely prove me wrong in this game. I'll be waiting. I'll be tapping my foot. But I just feel like it's such a, kind of double-edged sword. Let's see if Dway can navigate that at least. Objectives are up, and we have the Dragon that's been up for a little while. We had the lane swap come through from FPX. Not responded to just yet by WE, but they are going to move their bot lane walking towards mid to potentially set up for this grub fight.
And Cube is already over here. You can see that sheer because both these top laners do not have their teleports. Oh, Milky Way.
Milky Way, he's going to die.
Wait a minute.
So they do get the play back, at least one of them. Now comes the phase breaker. Taeyun now has shown up though, and Taeyun is taking hit. He's completely wide. The Cube has shown up too. Face breaker into that damage, but it's not going to be enough as well. As now they have that Haymaker damage. This is a showstopper from Dway with the flash play. Taeyun tries to get him in the end. He's going to have the Kanmei steps coming up soon. Can use that to speed up and get to him. Won't have enough distance to cover it. It ends up just Monkey being the one that goes down.
That fight right there is exactly why I love this set pick in this situation.
Okay.
The ability to have that Haymaker to just completely warp a fight, and even with Milky Way going down, I love the way that FPX were able to play out the rest of that. Let Care deal the rest of this damage. This is a single ward from Team WE that ends up spotting Milky Way. Vision control has been lacking here for FunPlus Phoenix so far in this series, and glad to see that WE are willing to try to capitalize on it.
It's actually a really nice crescent guard right there. But yeah, WE tried to collapse in the end. I'm surprised that Paris goes down. That's a really nice pickup from Care in the end.
This ultimate as well from Monkey is a bit unfortunate,
It's
but
tough.
yeah, still hiding some of the face breaker there. I like it. Or the Haymaker coming in from the set. You just have so much HP with regen. I'm gonna be honest here, Lennon. We got the flash away from Yunara. That's a pretty big one for us, even though we do trade one dragon for FPX, while WE are able to grab themselves the grubs.
Yeah, I mean, this grub would be very nice, especially for the Yunara, who I feel like rips through turrets in the end. Now Dway finds another one, face breaker on a Taeyun, but he will end up using Shadow to get out. He did end up popping the Transcend himself as well to get that extra blink. It is a blink instead of a dash. Monkey will get the weirding thrown onto him. And with Yunara, they were talking about LTA, but now with Yunara in the mix, the vocabulary of these fights has gotten a lot next level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cultivation of spirit.
Yeah.
The arc
Transcend
of
oneself.
ruin or judgment.
The weirding, a twofold hex. Between worlds. You can make like a whole sentence just between the two kids.
That's usually what happens when we talk about champions. So I'm glad that we're
it's
picking
like
it up.
halfway through.
We're 8 months into 2025, Lennon. I'm glad we're still learning.
It's working.
So
yeah.
it's an important part.
Hey, you learn something new every day. That's what they say.
So we come back to this game, and we're kind of looking back at this now. 11 minutes in, there have been some early scraps, but generally I would say that WE have come out the victors of this early game. having 3 Grubs on a team that has Talia and this Yorick means that the ability to side lane or apply pressure is going to be felt even more so. And FPX, I need to see them not only have cleaner team fights, but in terms of the lane assignments and how they actually are able to wave clear, they need to be very, what's the word, intentional with where they put players like Care and Jachi, because those are primarily the ways that they're going to be able to actually push waves.
Yeah, and I think side lane is going to be a tough question for FPX to answer, especially if Cube, continues to get a little bit farther ahead. He does have a pretty decent CS lead. I do wonder, do items make a big difference here? As we are getting to first items for majority, do you feel like it leans one way or the other, especially in a pretty even game?
Well, right now, I'm looking at the inventories. I see that Care and Milky Way and Yachi all have their first items. That is not the same that can be said here for Team WE. It is a heart steal for Monkey. That's not going to do much. Really, we're kind of, as we've been talking about, banking on whether or not Taeyun can carry these fights as this Yunara with the Kraken Slayer.
Yeah, the Kraken Slayer spike is going to be pretty nice, but we have seen people shy away from the Kraken Slayer start from Yunara, so we'll see if it works out for Taeyun this time. And the first time we're getting to see Yunara in the LPL. It's been really fun to see what this champion can do at the max levels, but now that next setup is a little bit far away. I mean, we have about 2 minutes till both next objectives spawn, and I gotta ask, is it a good thing for either side that it's spawning at the same time? Because we could just get the trade options.
If they are willing to trade, I'd actually love to see FPX prioritize this Dragon. You are going to be hurting in the short term, and we'll see what the effects of giving a team with 3 Grubs and the Herald ends up looking like. Yeah. But I think that just the fact that you're able to have access to more scaling in this game. You look at what the Dragons are going to be, or the Soul. Hextech's already gone. Infernal's going to be gone. So I think we're going to get more of the supportive style of Dragon Souls. That could actually make or break the game here for WWE.
You're going for the all-in, all-out on the Karis as he flashes. He's going to die. Top lane experience. No! He gets hit with the seismic shove, and Sheer can't do it. He doesn't have flash. He doesn't have anything, and the Weaver's Wall saves Karis. As now, at least he gets out.
I saw his player cam. He's like, I don't know if I lived this one, but I did, so that's smiling. Great. No flash and no ultimate does mean this is really problematic. You can kind of see that he's now invested in teleport on the bottom side. Cube needs to be careful.
He does have Vampire behind him. The rest of the team coming up. Cube getting low. Milky Way can't finish him off. Care trying to get there. Death Charge comes through. Way now looking for it. Flash from Vampire will go down.
Wow. In a matter of 45 seconds now, WE have lost 3 flashes. And we've got a Dragon to play for in the next 45. So I like what FPX were able to do. 2 individual plays happening on opposite sides of the map end up grabbing them massive kind of advantages going into this next play.
Karis was able to get a little bit more damage in the side lane turret here as they did return. TP had been utilized. Sheer just walked his way out here. And as you said, a little bit of gold back in fourth. And about 2,000 gold lead developed for WE. It's going to be on the major part of the members, right? It's not just on one singular carry. And now we see another turret going to fall. At least would be first turret of the game.
Okay, cool. Feat strength now completed for WE.
Easy.
Okay. I said all that stuff about the top side and them trading flashes, but then I looked at what FPX had available to them to actually fight. There's no ultimate from all 3 of their top sides, so it seems like WE are instead going to focus themselves on getting that Herald right now, but some movement from WE indicates that they're willing to try to contest both objectives here.
All right, well, they're going to try to get a little bit of both going as Vampire hesitant to move up. Dragon should just go their way, and there won't be much else coming of it. Karis did not have the Weaver's Wall available to him. The Rift Herald goes the other way, and that's a lot of standing gold that WE can scoop up. I mean, 3 Grubs with the Herald. It's going to be a lot of damage done.
Care is also dropping a fair amount of resources. Both of our mid laners really trying to hover around their teams, recognizing that if there is going to be a play, it is most likely going to be in one of these lanes, either the mid or the bottom lane right now, especially with them being on the Dragon. But Karis, like, we need to go to farm back up, brother.
if they just defend for the Scuttle Crab, and now just Showstopper into the double face breaker, but the Haymaker is not going to be enough, and the set is left out on a desert, and now WE takes full advantage of this fight. It's looking completely one-sided, and that's a double kill for Taeyun on the Yunara.
What did I just watch? What am I happening?
You're saying that
what
FPX
is going
are
on?
Game 2 at the end of draft. That's what we're watching.
Man, just what is the fight from FPX? Whatever, man. Well, Lennon, the good news is that WE now grab themselves 2 turrets potentially. Very least, more jungle camps. There we go. There's that second turret falling in the bottom side, and Yunara is 3-0. Probably going to be closer to finishing a second item here once we get out of this replay. The start of this is like, okay, fine, you hooked my Scuttle Crab, who cares? I thought this was fine for FPX. Maybe a little too ambitious here from Dway, because his backline is now getting handled by a Skarner solo.
Yeah, nobody's even damaging Monkey. That's the craziest point, is nobody from FPX auto-attacked for like more than half of that fight. And I will say another little fact in all of this, and something we pointed out from draft, the Taliyah is just so damn strong into a comp like this, because they want to try to like dive in these fights. They want to try to move forward. You just put down that ground and they can't do anything. I mean, I watched Milky Way almost stun himself twice in the same fight.
The terrain generation is really difficult, especially like you mentioned, so many dashes here from Plus Phoenix. I still want to see whether or not Taliyah is going to ultimately be super useful, because what we have seen so far from this game is Karis really hasn't had too much impact on this game aside from those unrivaled earths. So do you want to see a little bit more of a splash from a player who kind of got taken advantage of in that first game by their counterpart?
Yeah, I agree. Let's see if they can find a little bit more prowess in these fights, but one that does not need any differentiation from that game number 1, because he was popping off in that one too. Taeyun in game 2 still feeling the mechanical side of things on this Yunara. Feeling really good, new champion, but it also just fits Taeyun's style to a T.
Taeyun has been so impressive for the games that he had in the first half of the split. When we were talking about Team WE, a lot of it was just, okay, can Taeyun drag 4 wards over the finish line? And eventually, Team WE did end up becoming the monkey and vampire team for the most part. And players like Karis and Cube had a little bit more to kind of carry the burden in terms of the damage. Taeyun's always been reliable. I actually think this split he's been a little less stable. I think some of his positioning hasn't been the greatest. So glad to see that he's performing even on a new champion. And we'll have to see whether or not he can actually close out this game with a 5,000 gold lead here for Team WE.
Yeah, I mean, for last split, I feel like every time we saw WE, it was always talking about Taeyun. It was always talking about how can they get this guy to carry, especially his Kaisa always looked really good. We saw that last game, not be able to pull WE over the finish line. This time around, it's on the new champion. 2025 diff going on right now. And see if he can do that on the Yunara here. Almost 3 items, going to be closer to that here soon, and unfortunately Gachi has only not even completed his second. They were trying to climb from the Karis, but aren't going to find it in the end, and Dragon is spawning in 35.
I wonder how Karis saw that ward, because he got the notification. He might have the rune that allows you to see wards if they're automatically placed near you. I think it's within 1,100 units. So that right there gave him the note. If he gets caught there, that might have been Otacon there for FPX. But Dragon spawns in 10. Are FunPlus Phoenix feeling kind of thrifty right now?
Oh,
they know this game is getting away from them.
Oh, why are we even there, man? He was like thinking about going on a play for Karis, then like didn't commit to it, then decided to walk in anyways, and as he walks in, Monkey's just sitting there staring at him. And unfortunately, Milky Way will go 0-4, and W will take the Anaconda.
While this is happening, you can see it on your minimap if you're observers. Are we making a play in the cube? Guys, hit the dragon. Doesn't matter. Dragon matters. We're leaving Monkey to solo Otacon.
He's got the art skill. He's fine. Honestly, though, yeah.
Yeah, it's just gonna take him forever. That's fine.
And then FPX can't do the dragon. Okay.
Wait, man, they don't have their jungler.
Oh
now,
my god, they're gonna do it!
all right, Lennon, we're going to game 3. Everything that could have possibly gone wrong here for FPX has exactly happened as is.
They just got aura checked.
Yep, we didn't think, we thought maybe the Soul Wing are going to have a bigger impact. That doesn't necessarily happen. Milky Way is having more of the problems that ended up leading to, or contributing towards RNG's demise in Split 2.
I'm just saying, I did my part by saying that we were going to go to 3 and thinking it was going to be 2 games. You did not, and that's why we're here.
It's not my fault, bro. I just cast these games. I do not play them.
FPX is trying to make an alcove gameplay moment on the cube. They do end up finding the pick in the end, so they make the sting a little bit worse. But Dwayne can't get caught on the other side too. Oh my gosh, and he goes down. That play they just made was all for nothing.
It helps out Cheer because he no longer has to deal with the annoying matchup of playing against this Yorick with 3 grubs. But yeah, this is not going very well. Look at the picture-in-picture. Yeah, he just walks onto a ward. He's by himself. And what did we say coming into the series, right? Both of these supports, they like to go on little solo missions. They like to do their thing where they feel a little bit like they have some agency. They can roam into certain spots, but then they lose a large portion of their HP bar. And it makes it tough for objective fights. It makes it tough to have everybody out on the map at the same time.
All right, so let's settle the score here a little bit. It's almost, 6 to 5,000 gold lead for WE, hovering here or there. But there were some factors we were talking about from the graph that can lean in FPX favor. I mean, WE were in a position like this just in game number 1 where they had a scaling composition. There are still some really hefty scaling options for FPX as they move forward, but these fights don't give us confidence in them being able to execute that.
Need to see good performances. Care now finishing a second item. I don't think this is the Leandri's game. Honestly, I don't think a lot of games are Leandri's games. They took way too much AP out of this, but if we can see a fight where this Aurora gets multiple applications of her passive, Jachi's able to free hit, then I think we have an actual team fight. Just think about how the fights are being layered right now, especially for the front line. If we can get Sheer involved, maybe there's an angle here for FPX to fight back here.
And Jachi and Taeyun are pretty on par with each other. Just a little bit of difference, obviously the crit cloak there for Taeyun, but still about 2.5 items. Care gonna have to get the flash burned out of him by Vampire. And WE make a fast play on top side and gonna get a tier 2 out of it.
Got so much damage. This is a great play. They've even shifted Cube now into mid lane so they can take control of this lane. And then once they're done pushing, you can move all of the division. Look at the mini-map right now. So much of it lit up with these blue wards. Impossible for FPX to move forward. And you look at the objective spawning. In a minute will be a Baron. A minute after that will be the Dragon spawning here. Dwayne loses his flash, but that's as good of a win as you're going to be able to get here for Faultless Phoenix.
Milky Way might lose his life because of it. They are going to clear those wards in the bush. But they go right back to put them again.
Turns out, Lennon,
never mind.
When you have a Skarner and you have a Talia bouncing between 2 lanes that are next to each other, really, really good. And very strong, as we've seen.
Yeah. It's working out so far for W, and this is a stark contrast to what we were seeing in game number 1. I think it's a nice realization of what their win condition can be, and especially the early play through Taeyun. That's what I love to see from W.
Taeyun, I mean, he has to be. He's finishing red buff. He has to be close to getting his LPR here, so expect a really big fight. W are going to fish yet again. With teleport coming in from Karis, they want this Baron. And they do not have a second smite. That was ran out, so Vampire will not have the spell book to be able to help his jungler.
He has smite on right now, too. They might look for a play on the Jachi. Not going to be able to catch him just yet. Full stack from WE hovering over this Baron. Looks like they want to force the issue here. 40 seconds till Dragon spawns, so maybe the perfect timing. And they're going to lay Vampire and Karis in wait. See if they can bring him out. Look at this vision game from FPX, or at least against FPX from WE. They are just set up perfectly.
It's spotted now. I mean, Karis can very easily just segment this fight, make it impossible for them to join. No ghost, no ultimate here from Jachi.
Milky Way needs to get in the pit. Seismic Shove stops him. He can't get over, and the Dreadline comes in. The Baron's gone, and now Monkey going for the engage. Gets stopped by Sway. Impale goes a little bit wide in the end, but Cute hunts down the rest of the members of FPX. Now Care gonna try to get out, but he can't do it. TP wasted. And we're on to game 3.
There it is. Taeyun can just rip apart these fights, has 3 grubs now as well. WE, low and slow is the game. This time they didn't have to take that many fights. This is reminding me of their series versus JDG, where in the first one, they're just fighting relentlessly over every single objective. Game 2 comes in, they have a Skarner and Sion comp, and they just slow roll Jingdong through the entirety of that game.
They did indeed, and then a little bit of return to that form, but also, I don't know who sucked out the souls of FPX, but they were just not even in the building in this game number 2. And WE took full advantage of that one. And I think that's really nice to see compared to that first game, where it was just a faltering for WE at all times of the game itself, trying to figure out what their win condition was, trying to play around that here as well. But this was a good execution of what Monkey and Karis can do early into Taeyun and Vampire finding that success.
These 2 games are a perfect culmination of what we have seen from these 2 teams, where not only is it night and day performances inside of series, but some of the strengths for both of these teams showing out in the games that they have won so far. And obviously we're not done with this one yet, but we have a 10,000 gold lead here for WE. In competitive, it is very, very difficult to lose a 10,000 gold lead, so expecting for FPX to be back on the drawing board when it comes to Game 3 draft.
Yeah, and especially with Taeyun on the Yunara at 4-0. I mean, he's almost on 4 items now, and once either one of these ADs really got a big advantage, I mean, either side was going to snowball it. And turns out it's just the new champ diff. Another side of shove connects. Gotta say, Karis has been on one with those so far in this game. Really found a lot of options with those. WE, a little bit delayed on finishing out these pushes. Still have the Baron buff aplenty. Still have that cannon minion there. The next wave going to be coming up on bot side too. I wonder if they just wanted to push up mid, but looks like they are also waiting for that double super minion stack to push in the top lane.
They are very short range. It makes it hard to try to find sieges. They need to get engagements as WE if they want to be able to close this one out. Sivir, Aurora, clear minion waves like butter. So like to see that FPX are getting a large amount of that gold back here.
They are, but Milky Way loses all of his health. Another seismic shove strikes the line, and then Impale goes ahead and brings Sheer to the back of the team too. He uses his all out to get out. Nice little showstopper there, but he gets killed in the middle of it there. At least pushed back, and a triple kill comes through for Cube as WE put the finishing touches to the base of FTX. We only had one series today, so you know it's got to go the distance. Game 3 on the table. WE right the wrongs of Game 1.
They slam FPX in this game. No more random fights. It felt like everything was within expectation. And a large part of this game comes down to Milky Way. This is his second series on the team, so there will be growing pains. But so many fights not going their way. In particular, we cast our minds back very early in the game. He's level 5, trying to make the dive onto this bottom lane, onto Taeyun. Not only do they not find anything, Shui ends up dying to the turret, and Monkey just gets to completely cannibalize his jungle. That makes the matchup so much more difficult, and from there it felt like every little thing started to snowball for Team WE.
And it's just crazy. I mean, we get this all the time. So it's not like it's a new thing in the LPL, but it just feels like these teams lose their minds sometimes. And it's so baffling because then you look at a couple of follow-through plays from Milky Way there, especially in that top lane, where he like tries to go for a wraparound dive when the dive wasn't even set up and then just gets completely caught. And those things snowball so quickly, even at this level in Group Ascend. And I think it was really good mastery of how to take that situation and how to run it through FPX for WE. And that's something we talked about for FPX in game number 1, is taking some of those mistakes from WE and using it against the enemy. And I think this time around we saw the vice versa of it.
We came into this series, me personally, I've said it before and I'll say it again, I'm a big WE fan. I love the kind of games that we have gotten, especially early on in the Split 2 where Monkey was not only innovating in the jungle meta, but also his early pathing was so creative and much different from many of the other junglers. We have lost that a little bit here for WE, but what we have gotten from them in trade is a lot more objective control. They have a lot better priority, I would say, on taking things like Dragon, things like Grubs and stuff. It's just the setups that don't always go their way. But when they do, this team feels oppressive.
Yeah, they can indeed. They can kind of feel like strangleholding the enemy there as well, especially with comps like that. I mean, that's the big thing about that draft is it just felt like an easily executable draft, and they did so. And that's what I was looking for the entire time for Team WE.
I'm glad we got it. I'm glad that WE gets some fight back, but still, Lennon, one of these teams have won in Split 3, and the other one is WE. So,
I mean, if FPX play like that again, then hey, WE gonna find their first win. That's for sure.
I'm praying for some Milky Way downfall. I'm sorry. I need to see him. I need, like,
I mean, you just saw it, man.
I don't understand what this roster move did, because usually when you want to think about how roster construction goes, especially at a high level, you're thinking about, okay, not only can we build for success now, but how are we going to build for success in the future, whether that's 6 months, whether that's a year or 2 years. And IYY, for all of his faults, obviously a very new player to competitive, had some upside. You can potentially grow this player. He could be that player that eventually takes the mantle from a player like Care later on. And now we've thrown that all away for a player that, yes, wasn't getting any playtime, but I don't even think was the best jungler out of Group Nirvana.
Yeah, and that's the like kind of tough realization to some extent. But as we take a look back to some of these clips, I gotta ask you, man, just the brass tacks. Set. Why? How?
I still like the set.
When?
I think Joy just
You
played
like
it terribly.
Okay.
I think Joy just played it terribly.
I just think you do so much less than other options. Because like
sure,
the
but
Rakan
like
was up, like things like that.
The theoretical value of this champion versus Team WE is still really high in my mind.
Okay.
Maybe I'm just
More for the
overrating
laning
set,
phase, right?
but I think that his champ the kit is too strong for what WE wanted to do, and a lot of this game I think did come down to individual errors.
I agree. A lot of them. And I think in that situation, that like in the 2v2, it feels really good. But then you got that early addition from the junglers and it not going the way of FPX. And then all of a sudden, the Yunara has some gold and has a little bit of a lead. And again, Kara is finding insane seismic shoves time and time again in these fights. Monkey with not the most accurate of impales, but when he hit them, you know, it looks real good. And I think this kind of moment is something that WE can try to build off of in momentum. I'm sure they're going to be on red side for game number 3, but maybe trying to figure out what can work for them now on another like easily executable kind of baseline composition.
Speaking about MVPs, I think it's really easy to just say that Monkey probably has earned himself an MVP, but considering it's Yunara, new champion, I think it's probably going to be seeing some bias going over towards Taeyun.
I hope so. Taeyun deserves it, especially after getting so close on that Kai'Sa game. He had some pretty insane moments.
That game was doomed for a long time,
yeah,
unfortunately. His team let him down there, but I don't think he played this game terribly, but I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary for Taeyun. Okay.
New champ diff, though, as it's not new champ diff, man.
There we go.
Monkey does end up getting the MVP. Even though he misses the impales, it's the body that counts.
It's the fact that he got a massive jungle lead very early on into this game, and Monkey continuing to be one of the brightest stars from Group Ascend that is not a household name.
Yeah, and I think it's more so, I know I'm memeing about the impales, but it's more so what you do in the fights, in the like kind of elongated fights that Monkey was really shining in. And I think that kind of direction for WE paired up, obviously, with Vampire has been really cool to see. I know it's something we talk about every time we see WE, but it is one of the brighter spots and the brighter combinations between the two. But that is it for our second game of the day. We have one more on the docket. We knew it was going to go the distance, and we'll see you there for game number 3 between Team WE and FPX. Welcome back, everyone, to LPL English, your unofficial home for everything LPL. I'm Mazel. I'm joined by Alk yet again, and we get to our final game of the day. We knew it had to be so. We knew it had to go the distance, and either Team WE, their first series win of the split, or FPX end up getting a little bit further on in the standings at 2 and 4. We'll see after this game.
WE need this win because
they need that win.
Their schedule does not get any easier. They're going to be playing BLG back-to-back as they end the first round robin. They'll be playing up against BLG in, let's see, they play on the 9th, so in about 5 days. And then the very next day they play against BLG again.
Yep.
So they need to be able to take down a on-form BLG 2 days in a row, or at least contest them at least one of those series. And this is, again, another one of those games where you're going up against a team that is very close to you in the standings, that's potentially fighting you for that 7th, 8th spot. First round robin, let's see if you can prove it.
Exactly that. And yeah, I mean, it's just so crazy to think about, like, especially the double turnaround. Like, two series doesn't seem like that much. It's a lot when you think about the grand scheme of things, and how, especially for WE, they've already lost 5 of their series out of the couple that they need to play left, especially going back-to-back against a very tough team. You got to get that mental prepped, and so we'll see if FPX can find their souls again. I said they got their souls sucked out of them for game 2. I don't know where they went, but hopefully they'll be back for game number 3, and that's where I think we can talk a little bit about what these comps need to do for these teams. I loved game number 1 for FPX because they had a clear condition between mid-jungle, getting that ahead, having help from support, and getting their map state under wraps, right? And in game number 2, WE had a lot of similarities of that, but maybe a little bit more stable version of that. Game 3, how do you find those comps for both teams when you have so many picks taken off the table? That's
the issue for me, is I feel WE have, even in the fact that they haven't won as many games as FPX, WE just, I feel like I can trust them more. And you can maybe say that I'm a little bit biased, but when you look at how they've played the map, how they played a lot of these games, I feel like outside of an outstanding performance from one of the players of FPX, we are more than likely going to be seeing WE, at least in my opinion, hopefully take their first series win. I think a lot of the champions that are left still favor them a lot.
Well, if we go off what you say, and the last time you said something the opposite of it happened, then okay, you're an FPX fan. All right, cool. We're good. We have that under wraps here. But I do want to take a little bit more of a swing at how FPX can kind of pull themselves back from that one. Care still had been pretty good across both games. And I think that's a really big step up for a guy who needs to step up for this roster as a whole. But where else do we need to see these step up? I mean, I feel like top lane has been omega quiet so far in this series as a whole. But the jungle feels like it's decided a decent amount of these early games in both games so far, too.
Milky Way does need to improve. A player that we haven't really talked about today, we've talked about his counterpart. You can see him on your screen now. I need to see Jauchi improve, man, because he has some great team fighting, but his early laning phase leaves a little bit to be desired. And he also has a bit of a more unique champion pool. He will more often reach towards the Aphelioses, the Tristanas later on into a series that maybe go towards some of our more staple AD carry picks that we've seen. Even maybe deprioritizing a champion like Varus. So I want to see if Jauchi can actually be the wonderkin that he was supposed to be, because he's got big shoes to fill. He's taking in over Awesome, and he has a pretty great support in Jway sitting right next to him.
Yeah, he does indeed, but we're getting in Game 3 now. FPX, rightfully so, take their prize of a blue side Game 3, and W will be on that red side. We end up seeing very similar bans from the other games in the series, as the Azir and the Ezreal going to be banned away by FPX. We do get the Gwen and the Varus ban from WE, taking away some of those B1 picks that rise in priority all the time.
I think Sion needs to stay banned here. There are not very many champions that Sheer can play that are even up on the table anymore. They're going for the Orianna, which in my mind tells me that they're looking towards something like a Victor potentially. So I think it has
W don't ban
cannot
Sion,
give over.
Yeah.
W will I don't believe that they will ban Sion just because Sheer has not shown a willingness to play it, nor do I think it really fits his player profile.
When we talk to pros, though, he's so easy to execute. We've literally heard it from LTA pros. We've heard it from NACL players. Like, a lot of our NACL players are just first picking this, or first time playing this Sion because he is so easy to execute. You put your body in there and use your abilities. Ta-da!
Sure. I like it here for Sheer. I just wonder how he's really going to impact the map, because he has been typically given a lot of really good early game champions. I mean, even just looking at this series, Rumble and Cassante here already. And Sion has to be a little bit more cognizant of when he's allowed to take damage and where on the map he's allowed to be. And sometimes Sheer gets a little bit lost there. So as we get back into this draft, Aatrox here for Cube has been a pretty impactful champion for him so far this split. And I wonder how else are they going to really be able to get around this massive front line that FPX are already starting to tout.
Taeyun has been feeling himself all series long. Game 1 did not look half bad. Game 2 looked damn good. Game 3, he says, I'm going to put down Jauchi in that lane, in that 2v2. And the Caitlyn is going to signify a little bit more of an aggressive stance in that bot lane.
Jhin or Aphelios. Those are kind of the only two answers that I would expect from Jauchi to try to take up.
The Viego Merchant, he's back.
Okay.
He's back.
So FPX, really easy setup for this Viego now. A Sion for the front line. You have Annie for those point-and-click stuns. I like it. The only problem that I kind of see right now is Aatrox becomes a bit of a demon in this fight, especially as he gets to 2 and 3 items. And now you have to deal with the laning phase of this bottom lane, which we just noted was a problem for Jauchi and Jway.
I will say, I think it was Kelsey Bozer who always called Milky Way just a Viego Merchant. And a lot of the times when he was looking good on FPX, they were finding successes through that kind of style for Milky Way. I love the pairing between him and Care now. It's very clear what they want to do. The CC chaining into getting resets for Milky Way. On the other side, I gotta say, I love some of these team fights as long, it's a big caveat, as long as they can all focus on the same picks, right? Like if they can really dissect these team fights and have that kind of singular focus, that's where Caitlyn thrives.
Need to have some kind of either late game damage or something that's going to be able to outrange her. I just don't know what is left right now, because you think about all the supports that are already gone. Now you're taking away the Rakan. Honestly, you could think about You'd probably invite a Leona, even though I don't think it's great to deal with as FPX.
That's a great
Said going
ban,
for the Nico, okay.
He was hovering it last game, didn't decide today. By the way, would have loved the Nico instead of the set last game. just say it, Jway. Just say it. No, okay, I'm not going to throw any more shade. But his Nico won't be available. They know they don't want to give that in a pivotal game 3 for Jway. But in the end, the final ban for FPX is going to be the Jarvan. So still focusing towards that jungle pool against Monkey.
2 junglers I'm thinking about here from Monkey. Poppy is one of the answers, and maybe this is a Nefiri game for him. He's going to go for the R5, gives him the untargetability, and now has a ton of setup. So much range here from WE. This, I feel, is so execution-based for WE.
Really
they don't
is.
have the best of frontline, but you have so much range to be able to outpoke your opponents and take control of space. They need to show me and show the rest of the LPL that they have at least enough chops to be able to pull this off, because FPX, it is so easy to pull off a Jhin and Annie combo.
It is, and I know you were talking about kind of the pop-off you wanted to see from Jauchi. There is potential on the Jhin, but it's definitely more of a back-seated champion and trying to take advantage of moments and really set up the rest of the team. What they want is a pick into recess for Milky Way. That is the saving grace. That is how FPX closed this series out. And on top of it all, we'll get Jway's Bard.
Wow, that's actually insane. Being able to take that, in theory, this is great. This is another matchup where I feel like Jway has picked a bottom lane that really kind of takes away some of the strength from WE. This ultimate from Bard should be able to look for flashes away from Kars and from Taeyun repeatedly. My worry is now you're going to be in a situation where Viego's going to try to dive forward, where Care might be looking for something, and suddenly there's a tempered fate in the way, potentially stopping you from finding those resets.
Yeah, I mean, it can be so upsetting, but it also has the potential to not go exactly right for FPX. So we're talking about execution for WE. I still do think there's some of that now needed for FPX, although a little bit lower on the bar. But for a game 3, I feel like WE are definitely putting themselves not in the greatest position. One of the biggest things I wanted to say for them was, ease of execution. And they need to have a little bit of a kind of higher bar here, maybe using some of that momentum from that game number 2 win.
And for when I look at WE, I think you're really happy about what you got. You have a Maokai to take control of space with the saplings and the ultimate. You have all of these Caitlyn traps. Hui is so difficult for FPX to deal with if he's able to get set up, and that is the big question mark. Can WE actually execute a composition where they need to play standard front to back? They don't have very many ways of cheating mobility or getting into funky spots like with the Skarner. If they can pull this off, this could be the start for WE that they need here in split number 3.
It could be either a first win for Team WE in split number 3 or FPX trying to write their series record. We get into game 3 of the night, our final game of this day, FPX versus WE.
This arena better be lit up when if FPX win this game. Okay? That's what I want to hear. So we get into this now, Lennon, and I think the onus has to be for FPX. Stabilize the early game and look for mid-game plays when Viego and Annie have 1 and 2 items.
Oh my god, so many spellbooks. Monkey has spellbook too.
Oh, I like that. I love that. Hell, what other runes are you going Monkey and Maokai usually are taking things like, I don't know, like Phase Rush a lot of the time. Does have some use in this, but being able to have access to things like Exhaust is very, very good. We're seeing some early map splits. What has been one of the consistent things we've seen in the early game, Ledin? Testing you.
Fights.
No. Vision control from the jungle. It has been always WE planting wards, trying to find vision. Milky Way and the rest of FPX not even bothering to cross the river. So they have exact position on Milky Way. They're going to take all of his bottom side camps. And I wonder, if Milky Way has any idea that this is going on.
FPX wins this hard down there in the bot lane now. Vampire steps up, misses the Winter's Bite. 4 shots coming up. A flash play from Jachi is on the table, but he still has the concussive blows on him. Double cleanse going to come out. Taeyun barely makes it out. 4th shot going to be used by Jachi, and we are just getting tense in the bot lane.
Maybe Monkey comes down here for a bit of a gank. There's no cleanse, no heal. In the bottom lane of FPX don't know. This should be the answer, however, from Milky Way. As soon as he realizes all of his camps, pings are coming on out.
They're going to get this big flank. Jachi doesn't have much available to him here either. The cleanse has already gone. The double flash going to come out. Nice Unbreakable coming through there from Vampire, but is it going to be enough? Milky Way coming over for his resets. Just trying to get the kill factor in there for himself, obviously. Just a little early, and now FPX will have a little bit of tempo on the map for this Scuttle Crab.
Scuttle Crab still doesn't spawn for another 30 here. It's going to be Milky Way invading for the red buff. He's going to be on vision, but the bottom lane of WE cannot respond. They have to be able to take the recall here. How much we need to track does Monkey lose off of this play? Because it's not only going to be the blue buff, but Milky Way should make a beeline to the top side.
Yeah,
and that is going to be the first spawn of Raptors, and he's going to potentially get out even better than Monkey did with the original invade.
Now the next question is, does Monkey try to contest that side? I mean, he's going to be able to clear those wolves pretty quickly. Milky Way not actually going to go for the invade and just go for the double scuttle instead.
He saw the pings. I guess he just doesn't have a priority from top and mid. Ooh, they're making the rotation, though. Q has to be careful. He knows that Milky Way is on this side of the map.
The redeploy is coming out as well. Jachi and Zway coming up towards top lane. Cube is not going to take the bait here. The vision will spot out the lane swap coming through.
And a good sweepers, the vision cone actually giving Monkey the ability to spot Milky Way in the river. Like you just said, alongside the rotation of the bottom lane does mean that is going to be a little bit easier. I don't know if this is the swap we wanted. Because now you're giving Caitlyn a free lane to just hit these turrets, take turret plates, and sure, Aatrox suffers, but this is, I don't think this is the setup that you wanted. Oh god, double headshot.
Yeah,
triple headshot maybe?
He's just getting chunked. Sheer was like stuck in the corner there as well, but now Monkey and Milky Way going to go to blows here. Monkey going to get the better of it with the Bramble Smash, does get some of those chicky nuggies his way, so he's actually taking pretty good advantage in the jungle right now.
He is really far ahead. This is he got 3 Raptor camps in this first 5 minutes of the game. He got the respawn Raptors as well away from Milky Way, so Miss Maokai is quite fed at this point and still has access to these topside camps that are going to be taken in time for him to go back down to the bottom side of the map and be ready for a dragon push. This is a massive, I think, objective win here for WE.
And I do really wonder what build variety we're going to get out of Monkey. He just goes for that straight tank, because typically when we've seen the Maokai jungles, it has been more so the AP start into tanking this. So usually like the Leandri, things like that. I do wonder if he goes a different direction this time. Speaking of different direction, Dwayne needs to find a different direction here. He uses the magical journey out. Does lose a bunch of his health because of the turret, though.
Hey, who cares, right? Like, Monkey gets to be here, covers his top laner for the dive if they are going to go for it. He can just recall in the brush if he really wants to. FPX, I need to see something different, man. It doesn't quite end at 8 minutes, right? The game doesn't do... Their Nexus doesn't go boom in the early game here, but I think the decisions that they are making right now put them in a tough spot, especially when we wanted to see them be really, really strong on 1 and 2 items.
I feel like they just swapped to swap to some extent, and now they're going to swap back, but you have to think Dragon has been up already for a while, and the next spawn is Grubs on the other side in 1:40, and now FPX are going to deploy their resources down towards bot lane.
Seems like FPX will be able to grab at least the Dragon for themselves. You can kind of see that they're making their way. They'll be late for this, however, and if Milky Way doesn't start this within the next 5 seconds, I imagine that WE are going to be in the area. Kars is getting pushed in mid. Vampire's already back out of the map and in the area. And
oh yeah, they're moving.
Monkey's, I think, 3 camps away from hitting level 6. Scratch that. He's 1 camp away. So a single kill here means that he'll have ultimate.
Oh, FPX. I mean, they have a little bit of vision, but they now know that a collapse was inbound. They're going going to try to move, at least for WE, move Vampire around to the spawn side. WE not super confident in what they can do, and Care now moving down. Unstoppable Onslaught is available to come across the mid lane from Sheer. The Dragon should just be given over.
He's going to have ult.
By Team WE. He does have ulti. Nature's Grasp is at the ready, but the Dragon very low. I was wondering if Vampire was willing to swap over to Smite, but doesn't do so.
So how does Yachi and Jui get back into this lane? You can see that they've now channeled the recall. Jui is really far behind now. I know that the CS looks even, but Caitlyn has already gotten 3 plates for herself, and we are consistently pulling this Jhin away from winning positions on the map.
Yeah, and Caitlyn, if you didn't hear, does way more damage than Jhin. Jhin is a great cleanup specialist, can do a lot of damage if he's very far ahead. Caitlyn just outright better in terms of the hyper carry potential. Taeyun just been left down here. Now Sheer and Dway will be here, but Dway's going to get that reset off. And WE going to readapt some of their forces towards this mid lane and towards this grub side of the fight.
He is never allowed to touch this top side for Milky Way. You're going to deal with a cube Aatrox that is dealing fine right now. Again, Monkey having access to that ult makes it very difficult for this Viego to step up. They're going to look to contest. Milky Way's going to steal away 1.
The grass comes out already. There goes the 1 grub. Yachi stepping up now. Level 6 does have the curtain call, but immediately gets feared by the setup from Karis. That will be 2 grubs going away to FPX, though, and that's pretty big.
Ooh, and Taeyun actually used Flash bottom lane. This is the problem playing into a Sion as Caitlyn by yourself. If you don't have your support there, if he lands a slow from his E, if he gets any kind of damage from his Q, he can run you down. As we take a look here, yep, exactly what I thought it was. As soon as the E comes out, the Roar of the Kingslayer, you just gotta run. So
I mean, he almost still ran him down too.
Yeah, a very good punish there from FPX. They rotate their bottom lane. I thought it was a bad position there for the Jhin, but in trade, it allows for FPX now to get themselves at least 2 grubs, which I don't think this team is going to be using it all that much, but they're going to definitely need it if they want to be able to break down these bases a little bit faster after some fights.
Taeyun just got his 4th plate at 9.5 minutes, though, and that's also some of the little things going on behind the scenes. Yeah, with the Cole, the item spikes are going to be so nice for Taeyun if you can get to that point and utilize it. But I do really appreciate some of the objective control that FPX has been able to bring to this game in game number 3. An important one for both organizations, especially in their run for split number 3. But I said it in game number 1 at the end at least, and a 2-4 record looks a lot better moving forward in these tough moments, in these next tough games, than a 1-5 record for FPX.
So, I like this positioning from FPX. They're having Jui just bounce between mid and bottom lane. You do have the Tempered Fate now available for Bard, so forcing Summoner spells out. We know Taeyun doesn't have the Flash anymore.
Tempered Fate, Flash on the other side. He can't get out. Now Monkey is going to be locked down, uses the Nature's Grasp, but there's 4 members of FPX running him down. His soul is forfeit. FPX take his life.
And Jui making good on this Bard. Last time we saw him play this Bard was in their playoff series. Unfortunate for them, he wasn't able to find a win in that game, but already making early plays here. Took down Monkey, got his Flash as well. And not too many objectives to play for, but
yeah,
without Maokai having Flash for the next at least minute and a half, does mean that second Drake is a little more appetizing for the Phoenix.
And Unending Despair already completed there for Monkey, so he's definitely going for that tankier aspect of it. And I gotta say, though, I mean, I know it, you know it, we all know it. This is the Milky Way show. When he's on Viego, it is all about his resets. It's all about what he can do in a lot of these fights. Everybody else is there. Yes, they do damage, but they are there to set up for these resets. And I love that Milky Way has already gotten that kill, already gotten some resources, and now another dragon is going to beg the question of, can they go almost full objective control early into this game?
It's so easy for FPX to also make plays inside lanes or make plays in the enemy jungle because you have things like Bard and Jhin as your bottom lane. That Deadly Flourish range allows you to play essentially with like a half member available to you at all times, even with a curtain call as well. And Jue, between the mobility and, again, that Tempered Fate that is now back up and available. So much playmaking potential here for FPX in spots where I think WE may not be expecting them.
And little things that we haven't really noticed. We haven't really talked too much about this mid lane impact and what it can bring, but that was a big key point for us coming into this series. I think Karis is in a bit of a different situation. A lot of utility on this way pick, obviously, but there is one bread and butter thing you can do as care on the enemy, and that's a Flash Tibbers play. And that's not going to be the case right now, but another Tempered Fate will lock down Taeyun. There's the TP, there's the Flash Tibbers play potentially coming.
Oh,
Didn't even need the Flash, just kills him outright. Care finds the flank TP, and now FPX are opening season on Team WE. Jachi is going to miss a little bit with that curtain call. Care's going to force the Flash away. Cube goes ahead and pops that World Ender. Now WE have their own rebuttal, but here comes the unstoppable onslaught from the distance. As WE back away, ult popped on both sides. A fear connects on a Jati. Nobody follows through. Vampire's like, guys, we could kill him here. They don't do so, and Dragon goes to FPX.
Taeyun not having that flash, huge punishment coming in from FPX. Grabs themselves a second Dragon. That'll be feats of epic monster slaying. And if they can pick one more kill up, that should be feats of strength going over to the Phoenix. Monkey trying to look for an invade. This is so fake, guys. Please, you guys. It's Aatrox Maokai versus 3 members. Oh, the recall went through.
They actually, yeah, they finished the recall. Oh! Cube! No!
He gets one. He gets one. He gets one. His teammates have ruined his game for him, okay? He gets one.
He gets one. All right. Taeyun's just going to take what's left in the absence of power down here in the bottom side for FPX. And Taeyun, after all this, 14 minutes in, I mean, I think he actually gets it. All 5 plates.
Feels good, man. Also gets the turret for himself, so a lot of gold in this Caitlyn, but it's only 1,000 gold, and you kind of take stock of the rest of the map. We haven't been able to grab dragons with this bottom lane pair. You're in a bit of world of worry here. Milky Way trying to flash out, and this flank from Care, just beautiful. I think WE skipping some steps, being a little too over-aggressive on objectives. That is part of the issue. Remember, WE, they have so much of a priority on trying to get these objectives that sometimes the setup gets away from them. So
yeah. That can be the tough situation there. We do still see WE's first turret win percentage. Still holding in strong, but another invade comes through from FPX and Milky Way. We do have first items coming up for everybody, at least already completed, and at least almost for Sheer in that way. But the Trinity Force does provide a nice little power spike for Milky Way, and they have a trap set for Cube in topside.
He knows. He's like, okay, they can maybe be next to mid, but until they show, I cannot do anything.
Yeah. Oh, but he did something.
We did something.
He did something. Uh-oh. He's in trouble now. Yep, he did something. He stepped towards the wave, used his Q, autoed, and he dies for it. And this means a little bit of trouble for the Rift Herald play, as FPX could look to force this fight into that. That was also the feats completed there for themselves. And WE going to try to fight back with their own contest over this Rift Herald.
WE are not set up, but maybe with Jue being caught out, the mystical journey gets him away. Huge blunders here from WE.
Sheer ends up finding an angle with the unstoppable onslaught. Jiachi, even though he's chunked, still has the curtain call, so he can always help out. And Taeyun not having the ace in the hole just yet. That actually means that after all is said and done, WE have prime position over the Rift Herald play.
Small things here, Lennon, are going to be the death of FPX. Why is Sheer teleporting to the mid wave and then using the ultimate? The ultimate is a perfect way for you to move around the map. We're going to get a redeploy here from the rest of FPX as WE are trying to take this Herald.
Tempered Fate is going to connect there. They do get the double knock up on Akaris, but Cube has the side lane handled. Side fight at least. Care trying to stack up here, trying to wait for the Tibbers, but the Tibbers isn't available. And now Care's going to be in trouble, has no CC, and FPX have just left their franchise player out in the dust.
Guys, just go for the side lanes, please. We already invested for the play before. How much more can WE get now? Remember, Caitlyn and all of these demolished procs. Going to be one mid-tier 1 for now, and a dragon that spawns in a minute and a half. You have to expect that with WE and the gold that they have, how much can they spend before this objective to make a meaningful impact for this upcoming objective fight?
Yeah, because it's about a minute and 15 seconds till a soul point for FPX on a Cloud Soul. Both teams would be very happy with this, but especially FPX with the way that their champs work, with the combinations they have with the ultimates, would feel really nice to have that as well. You have to see if these kind of second items are going to be hit, if Taeyun's going to be able to make it there, but we do also need to check in on some of these summoner spells. WE definitely favored in that fashion across the table, especially with a lot of these flashes up, especially with Taeyun full summoners up.
Just means that Jue has to be looking essentially 10 to 30 seconds ago, because maybe if they do something onto Taeyun now, mid lane, they can try to get his flash, but Bard is going to have very limited efficacy coming into this fight, so I want to see how he's able to position, as well as who and where he's targeting, not only his ultimate, but things like the Mystical Journey, because you can make it very difficult for WE to walk in. As you can see right now, they're trying to throw saplings, but FPX have full control of the river.
Ace in the Hole is going to come out just for a little bit of preemptive damage. Won't have that to follow up any of the fights, but FPX are going to be first into the pit here. Okay, a little bit of lockdown. Nature's Grass coming across. Jachi wants to get away so he can use the curtain call. Sheer is doing his best as the mountain to block. Tempered Fate goes wide, though. That's tough. FPX are out of options, and now they're being split completely. This is the second fight in a row that FPX have gotten completely split by terrain. They do end up refocusing. Care is thinking about going on the flank. Care was thinking about finding the angle, but he's going to walk over some traps. And unfortunately now that leaves him without the team and without the fight. FPX lose this control.
They can slow
WE
this
are just
down,
going to
though.
start the dragon.
Oh
my
Care
God, they
still
just
has
go
flash,
straight
still
on
has
Care.
flash.
Okay, they do get him. Deadly Flourish into the curtain call. They take down Monkey. Now WE forced to flash away from Karis, as now Milky Way is also going to be forced to flash away. Cube is now a massive frontliner, bigger than Sheer at this point with this World Ender pop. And Quay does end up making it through the magical journey, does flash over the wall as well for his escape, but WE fight back in the moment.
There's that cube that I wanted to see on this Aatrox, man. He is coming up massive. Really hard for him to die. He already has things like the Sundered Sky, also has the Merc Treads. He's becoming more and more tough for FPX to deal with. That's kind of the crux of this game. Whether or not FPX are able to scoop out the rest of this backline from WE, or if champions like the Hui and the Aatrox actually get time to deal damage right now. And despite Taeyun having 1,000 gold lead, it really doesn't feel like this Caitlyn does much. Expecting that after he gets this Infinity Edge, we'll see a little bit more of a deadlier edge to the comp of Caitlyn.
I think it provides such a big damage threshold for you, especially with the passive. And now, unfortunately, does not have it for this fight. The dragon hadn't been started up, and we're about to get round 2 out.
Okay, well, in terms of setup, it is way better here for WE. Still have that flash ultimate here from Tear. I'm looking at Milky Way, has the ultimate, has the flash.
They got Monkey, but the Nature's Grass would come out right beforehand. Glacial Fissure is going to be used already. Sheer doing a wonderful job, but the Dragon's already gone. Now fight in the middle of it all. Big angle from Cube on the back line. Magical Journey is going to separate them just a little bit. Milky Way's already gone. That's your main ticket. We said it from the start. That's how FPX wins. And WE found that win condition. They exercised it from FPX, and now they can just run down their prizes. The pity that they have on FPX. They run Jachi down. Cube is just being killed by Care in the end, but it should just be WE that clean house. They take Dragon, they take Adakan, and they now have an almost 4,000 gold lead.
4 kills there as well. Just a massive win there for WE. One where they took it slow and immediately blew up Milky Way. That looked very dangerous for a moment there, but the fact that the ultimate tagged Milky Way, and I just want to be able to catch this fight again, because there's so many things that could have gone right there for Fun plus Phoenix, but execution, some of the damage isn't all there, and this second item, Power Spike, for a lot of these champions is going to be so important here, whether or not it's going to make or break the fight. This is a really far back replay, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this one. But more importantly for me is Milky Way, you have a big burden to be able to carry this game, and there's a ton of CC and tools that WWE have to stop that.
Earlier in this fight, I mean, yeah, he's just instantly dragged out of it. And then we take a look back at this one, and Milky Way just overextends a bit, but the team is so split.
It's fine, like Milky Way's behind Sheer, this is okay. Here Kara only lands onto 2 members, and it's the Bomb and this Aatrox. Pretty meaningless Aatrox, or pretty meaningless Tibbers usage there. He gets blown up. I mean, you look at Milky Way's build, Trinity Force into Collector. You don't have the most amount of HP, so this might be the end of it all, and potentially the start of WE finding their first series win.
Yeah, and that's the craziest point of all this. It's been so down in the dumps for WE. They've found game wins, but it's been few and far between, and there's been a lot of just absolute one-sided fests with their series, and the fact that they were able to come back after a devastating game number 1 to get that game 2 win, now potentially get their first series win of the split. I know we talked about what these series mean, how many wins matters, and how to get as many wins as you possibly can for these teams, but in the moment, right now, right here, WE, they want to make good on what's happened in Split 3.
That's a question as to whether or not this Bard was going to be really useful. There's so many options for Bard. Has a very high skill ceiling as a support. But this is also just not within the archetype of a player like Jway. We want to see him on the Nikos, the Rakans, the Alistars, and the Nautilus. Bard is just not that kind of champion. You take away some of the agency for him to make plays. Here's Kara with a flash ult.
Oh, let's see. Over the wall, they do end up blocking down Karis. Now on to Vampire. If they get resets for Milky Way, huge. But now that spiraling despair, it has just hit WE from WE onto FPX, and now a double kill had come through for Taeyu. They put down Care too. Don't get him with a built over Peacemaker, but Cube does knock him down. Jway does find an exit, but the entire time this push could come through. They don't have the wave in top lane that maybe they wanted to, but they still get the team fight win.
Guess what, Lennon? FPX, they invested the flash from multiple members. They even put Care into a really good spot. I love the way he sets this up, by the way. W first to get the AoE, and then the ultimate for all of this damage. The patience there as well, but it's just not enough. The cleanse out from Taeyoon is fantastic. Even Vampire using the cleanse to make sure he's not stunned. And Milky Way just gets completely exploded thanks to Karis. Cubes in this backline, we don't get to see too much of this, but like the bottom half of this fight, beautiful from the rest of WE. And it is just heartbreaking here for FPX.
I'm just surprised he couldn't click the Braum Soul there in the middle of that. He was right next to it as well, but just in the moment, it's been this situation where, again, this entire composition is built around Milky Way getting extensions, getting resets in these fights, and every time those resets are there, he finds himself in the midst of all 5 of WE, and they just turn tail or turn on him and take him down. And that is just not working out for FPX. But now, they are setting up in front of the Dragon setup, but WE have decided to force their hand and do the Baron right now.
FPX have literally zero way of entering this. Okay, the ultimate doesn't matter. Look at this Caitlyn trap line. You even see that Cube looking for a flank. If he gets into this back line, it is
they want
a
the fight.
wash here for WE.
Monkey just popped Ghost. I love it. He hit the spellbook change, and now Magical Journey is going to bring FPX to the other side of the fight. Dragon is still up. I love that WE were just trying to use tools here. Kara finds an angle, but now needs to be careful. Oh, he realizes a little bit too late that he needed to run. He instantly pops the Tipper stun, but Cube gonna try to run him down. Ace in the hole has been popped. And WE now collapsed. Dragon already going low. Dragon to Milky Way or Monkey. Who's going to get it? It goes the way of Milky Way. They do get the soul point, but now they got to find an exit strategy. That strategy might not be coming up. Care doesn't have anything. He does have a CC chain trying to get something back, as now Cube is forced out front to back, though. Here comes the curtain call. This is chaos. Sheer does fall, but he goes zombie mode. Tibbers comes out. Deadly Flourish there, but Sheer can't get much else on the back of it.
All right. FPX put themselves on Cloud Soul Point, but Lennon, it is not going to matter in my opinion. You're going to have too many things to try to work through. 3-item Caitlyn, 3-item Play as well. Teleports come out immediately from Team WE. They're going to look to pressure onto this Baron while they still have a numbers advantage.
No way, they just popped all the TPs across the map to just force this Baron. Round 2, begging the question, can FPX keep their head in this game?
No ability here for FPX to get into this pit. Jue not even gonna bother to risk it. It's gonna just be a Baron going over the caves. And it's so important too that they did this with the teleports in mind. I kind of wish that they would have maybe waited for Taeyun to recall, because now he's gonna be a bit late to the push. They're wasting this Baron. Push out these waves, guys. We just teleported back in.
See how they can use it moving forward, but I mean, they've ballooned this lead to 7,000 gold up for Team WE, and we talked about some of the scaling conditions, especially what the hyper carry difference is going to be between Taeyun and Jiachi, and right now that's a big difference. I mean, that's almost 4 items for Taeyun.
This is only going to get tougher here. I mean, FPX, you are so one-dimensional in their composition, and we came into this draft saying that WE do need to prove that they can kind of play this style of comp. It has allowed for them to play a little bit more of that WE style where they can take fights whenever they want with this Maokai ultimate. Hasn't been perfect, but that's not what you need when you're at the bottom of Group Ascend right now. You need to just be able to take wins where you can.
Dude, I love it. We literally had a graphic earlier today of when will that win come for Team WE. Last split, it was a tough time. They found that win. They ended up having a decent run at the end of it. But it looks like it's going to be that 6th series mark here for WE if they can round this one out.
Split 2, it took them 6 series to be able to win their first ever.
It's just the magic number.
In split number 3, they might be able to do it on 6 instead of 7. So I am tentatively excited. I want to get my hopes up. I've seen WE throw massive gold games before.
That's the difference.
I am so tired and sad as a WE fan, but it's looking more and more likely as they continue to press on to FPX's base.
And the Milky Way Viego comp has not worked. Nobody's buying what he is selling right now. And WE, they ended up taking the inhib in bot lane. They're looking at the mid inhib now. Beautiful macro setup right now for WE across this game. Number 3. Now Monkey wants it. Wants to go in one more time. Does overextend a little bit though. But the health bars are still there. The health bars are so big for WE. And already that frontliner's gone. Shear's going to reset, but his flash is down. They could win.
Yes! They could do it! WE can find their first win of split number 3. FPX trying to defend their base. There is ultimates, there's abilities flying everywhere, Lennon.
There's guns, there's bullets, there's everything you could ask for, and WE holding the line. 15 seconds for the Baron buff. They want their first win, but they don't want to overextend. Double flash comes out. That was beautiful from Taeyun, because that was the trigger pull from Care and from FPX. The franchise player couldn't make it happen, and I don't think FPX can make it happen either. One big knock-up on a Sheer. He dies again. Goes zombie mode here. Taeyun a little bit caught, but they end up finding another pick onto the turret. WE, they might do it. Care's down. Franchise player down. WE, it might just be 6 as the magic number this split. And WE, they're on the verge. One more fight win, one more kill, and one more Nexus. They'll find their first win of the split in their 6th series. 2-1 over FPX.
FPX, thank you for the memories. It's going to be us moving on forward. WE, like you said, finally a win here. So well deserved for their performance so far tonight, but a lot of questions going forward because Group Ascend only got tougher as we moved on from Split 2. And a win versus a struggling FPX, it's fine. It's maybe something that we might expect from a caliber of team that we saw back in Split 2, but this is a whole different beast, and you need to be able to prove yourself against the other top teams here.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing in all of this is Group Ascend. We talked about it being smaller than last split. You lost 2 teams, so it makes everything tougher. But now FPX and Team WE were looking like the teams that everybody was going to pick on, that everybody was going to bully. And that has been the case for the most part. But now both of them are evened up. And I said it the entire series, that scoreline for FPX looks so different if it falls either way. And now WE, with all this second round robin ahead of them, can look to it in a positive light.
WE are going to end tonight on a scoreline of 6-11. For FPX, they're going to be 4-10. Does mean that they are now the 8th place team here in Group Ascend, which kind of sucks because we talked about this, I think, during Game 2 and during the pre-show, but this change from Milky Way, I think, is maybe even 4 months too late. Yeah. The time to be able to build was in Split 2 placements. Now you have a completely different roster. The likelihood you make a deep run in playoffs isn't that high anyway, but now players like Awesome don't even get to really kind of like prove themselves when they were already doing so well. You didn't get to build on those foundations. And for FPX, it leaves me wondering, and I hope the fans can kind of feel the sentiment of what exactly were the management doing or looking for when they were planning out this move going to Split 3.
Yeah. And that's always a question that, you know, we won't always have all the answers to or all the information about why these things, but you can still sit there and wonder to yourself what this does in the grand scheme of things. But for WE, what this does in the grand scheme of things is feel real good, honestly, to be able to fight through that, especially how one-sided game number 1 was. And we were just like, is this just another WE fail out? Is this something where we're just going to see FPX, you know, get a little bit of momentum going for themselves? But it feels good to see the members of Team WE pop off in the way they did. Taeyun, the brightest star through this entire series, it feels like.
And FPX, their schedule does not get any easier. After this, they're going to be playing up against Anyone's Legend on, oh my god, where is it? On the 8th. So they'll be playing on Friday morning up against Anyone's Legend. And then after that, they play against JDG, which is a bit of a softer opponent, but did just get 2-0'd like not even a few days ago. And we got the rematch again. WE coming up soon. So next slate of opponents.
To the first round.
Yeah.
That's the scariest part of this is like we're literally already coming to the end of the first round robin. And that means we're getting that much closer to playoffs, that much closer to the deciding moments of this split. And it just feels like it's going by so quickly for a lot of these teams. And that's why it was so important for WE to finally pick up that win here before the end of that first round robin.
But like, how many more wins do they really got in them? Because part of their
to face FPX again.
Yeah, part of their like reason why we saw them even kind of have a spot so high going into Split 2 playoffs was they had really good series against some of the faltering teams. In particular, they beat Weibo both times they played against them during the regular season. They beat JDG a couple of times in the regular season. Then obviously you have those wins that you take over NIP and ThunderTalk, and that's a convincing enough resume to put you in a top 4 position. But that's not the case here in Group Ascend, not in Split 3, and maybe the JDG one's a little bit easier. I'm a little more hopeful on what's happening over at Weibo.
Yeah, me too. I think it just outright shows it in some of the things that we've seen, but I know we had a long conversation about what the drafts are looking like for some of those teams to try to figure out what goes well for them on that one. But I want to talk a little bit more about this one. Is it just Taeyun MVP here for game number 3? Does he finally get his flowers, or are we looking elsewhere?
Taeyun definitely played most of this game fine. I don't know, Caitlyn just kind of sat around and right-clicked a lot of times.
5 turret plates at 14 minutes.
But part of that is because FPX decided a great idea is to swap our Jhin away from the Caitlyn Bard, or Caitlyn Braum, and then we swapped back so that he could catch a single wave, and then we swapped him back up top lane again so that he could catch so that he could help us play for the early grubs. I don't think that's particularly
He
impactful.
went on a journey, all right? It might not have been magical, but it was a journey nonetheless.
Sure, I guess. I don't know. I feel like most of this game, there wasn't anybody in particular. If there's 2 people that really stuck out in my mind that maybe deserve an MVP, it's either Cube or Monkey. There were some parts in this game that I don't feel particularly confident giving it over to Monkey. So if we're talking about like cleanliness of play, again, we gave him the freebie for that flash. Sure. Cube played 95% of this game really well, and he had one objective, which is just be an unkillable Aatrox in these fights.
And I gotta say a little bit on the down note is FPX looked real rough in Game 2 and Game 3. Game 2, they were losing their minds for some reason. Game 3, it didn't feel like they were able to execute the comp that was in front of them. And that's going to feel really bad for FPX moving forward, but something maybe they can brush off and try to figure out where those kind of early learnings with Milky Way coming back into the roster, what they can do with a player like Milky Way in the end itself. But man, I'm so happy that we have some parity in the league, that we have WE finally winning a series, and Taeyun does get his flowers as the Caitlyn gets the MVP.
All right, sure, fine. He had a pretty good setup for most of this game, and then obviously ends up delivering on that. I think that's fine. So great job for Taeyun. Coming out of this series now, we are at the end of our show. Again, if you missed it, JDG versus Weibo is going to be moved into the end of the split due to concerns of flash floods and for the safety of everybody in Beijing. So
please
hopefully
be
everybody
safe,
out there
everybody.
Can be, nice and healthy. Hope that everyone is back home and in a good spot. But
stay home. Stay home.
I still have lots of questions for whether or not these two teams that we had here today are going to meaningfully make splashes here, because I would love so much as the next WE fan, for them to go back on this run and take over, finish off maybe like a 5th or 6th place spot. I just don't see it happening within the time frame, right? Like we have 42 days now thanks to the postponement days.
Yeah.
We're 17 days in. We're almost halfway through the split.
Which is so insane, man. It's so insane. And again, it comes by fast. I mean, we're getting, even though Nirvana is a double round robin, we're getting closer and closer to that series, or at least that group being closer to being finished as well. And it's just crazy stuff. Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings as they are now. Obviously, as we said, JDG and Weibo will be delayed. But until then, we have the group standings now with WE taking a victory over FPX and trouncing them in the standings, moving up to 7th place.
Wow, -5, -6, 1 win streak, 2 loss streak.
It's crazy,
insane
man.
Movement. We weren't gonna have,
wild.
if FPX won, literally the standings would not have moved from the start of the show. So
but
not too much to see here. I do feel bad, obviously. You know, we were robbed of a series, but safety of others does come ahead of us. And as we close out this show, Lennon, we did get to introduce patch 25.15 to the LPL.
We got you,
more of it
Nara.
as the split goes on. Anything about tomorrow's games that I think fans can maybe get excited about?
I think tomorrow is actually going to be a lot of fun. I think we finally get another iteration of that ALTS matchup itself. But I would actually be a little bit more. Yes, I'm really interested in that matchup. But the TT and IP match is really interesting for Group Nirvana standings, and to see if TT can kind of bring back any saving grace from their previous splits. No, he's like, no,
nope.
It's the other one. It's
sorry,
the
I would try to be a
matchup.
little bit more unbiased, but my boy Leave is doing great right now. He's still looking like the stats wizard he did in Split 2.
Incredible.
I let him breathe. Goodbye to Thunder Talk. Let's wrap that one up.
The ALTS matchup will be a lot of fun after that one.
For sure.
Finally, another one of that one. But before we get going, before we get to say adieu, got to give one last huge thank you to our Elite Coffee supporters, Aaron Soup, Mung, Forest Without, and owners of Asil Moril. Their pledge financial contributions help level up the broadcast on a daily basis and give back to the cast and crew who strive to give you an LPL English product every single day. Coffee is the best way to support us. Please go check it out. Give as much as you want, much as you can. Every little bit helps to pay for our volunteers that come on and give us the show, and everybody behind the scenes. Alk, any thoughts, any last feelings before I get to say the goodbyes?
Oh my God, the show ended before 5 a.m. Woo!
It's over.
Everyone,
you can go to
please
sleep.
be safe. Yeah,
Be
I know
safe.
there's no LCK on at the same time, so thank you guys for
all
joining
over.
us, even if it was for only a single series.
Well, got to give a huge shout out to Kai behind the scenes, also to our socials and our mod team. Alk, shout out to you and to the community who comes and supports us, gets to watch our games every day. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place for more LPL English.